Okay, hey everybody. How's everybody doing? Oh, I'm in a different spot. Look at that. I'm on the bottom now. I don't know how that happened.
Backstage
Uh,
show.
So, yeah, I'm getting demoted here on my own show. I don't know. Something. So, how is everybody doing out there? Hopefully we're live. Everybody can hear us. I guess wow, I'm a little befuzzled because I'm on the bottom. This is weird for me. So
As long as the
I'm
text
game-
doesn't pop up over your face, you'll be all right.
yeah, I think it's gonna happen. So I'm Game Master Roger as usual, and I guess we'll start with Ducato because he's up in the top left and prime position up there. So Ducato is here with us today, and then we got Jason as usual, and Ken is joining us for today, and I think next week as well, and Matt here sharing the bottom row with me. Today we're talking about
That is going to drive Roger crazy, I guarantee.
it is going to drive me crazy. Yes, it is. It's already. It's weird looking at I can't even look at the thing anymore because I see down there. I don't know what happened. I think when I was clicking on the thing, it something happened. I don't know. Anyway, let's see if this covers my face. Oh no, okay. We're okay.
Excellent.
We're okay. Look at that. Edgelord is here as usual, joining us. Good. Thanks for coming. Thanks for showing up last week too. It was a pleasure having you on. We'll definitely have you on again when we're going to talk. You and Jason could talk about Skyrim for 3 hours. But so today we're talking about one shots and everything associated with them, what goes into running them, prepping them, things that are different from our home games and longer games, all of that fun stuff. But first I was looking at what I've backed and what I've gotten. The only thing that I've got in that came in this week was my hardcover of Gangbusters.
Oh,
and I got the limited edition one. I got the
Nice.
hardcover. I ordered it when it dropped, so I got the signature card there. I believe I got 6 out
Very
of
cool.
100. 6 out of 100, which is
nice.
it's cool. It's the sticker, which I'm not a fan of. This isn't on the book. It's a
The
sticker.
signature plate.
They call it a signature plate, which I'm like, I don't know. I'm not really a fan of. Because I feel like it's like I get it, like Mark Hunt and Don Zamora both signed it. They both can't. It's hard for them to be in the same place because they're in different states, and that's kind of the state of publishing now and whatnot, where everything's just done over email. It's just a weird thing that it's like a sticker that has the signatures that got slapped on the book. I don't know. It's not the same as getting the book signed. So I'm planning on going to WizardCon, Don's Con, and I'm going to bring it and I'm going to get it proper signed, by both of them. But yeah, that's that. Other than that, I don't think I backed anything else. I saw something. Eric Bloat dropped something today or yesterday. I got an email that something of his went up, and I don't even know what it is. So, but I'll have to check that out because I usually like his stuff. But yeah, that's what I got. Matt, you got anything come in? Or you back anything new?
It's pretty dead time for crowdfunding. The only one I guess I would call out is talking about Ron and Paige. His Kickstarter, Tomb of the Ancient Moor King, is up. That seems to be doing pretty well. They blew past $10,000 this week.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so it's like a AD&D OSR style
Yeah.
module. So that's kind of cool. I'm pretty sure they were selling limited edition ones with Page, like through Page directly. So I'm pretty sure I already
Okay.
paid for it there, but otherwise I probably would have backed that. But that's basically it.
Yeah. Interesting. Cool. Stan, what do you got?
I got two things. So this Kickstarter came in yesterday. It's a mega dungeon for Shadowdark, written
Oh, cool.
by Tom Wilson, who
Oh, nice.
Oh, okay,
hosts
yeah.
the ShireCon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this actually came in a month early because Tom knows what he's doing.
What is
and
called?
pretty cool. I love the cover. Like, the cover's awesome. Like that.
Like when I think of mega dungeons, I think of Greg Gillespie's Bible-sized mega dungeons. How big is that?
Yeah. It's pretty. I think there's like 13 levels to it, but it's
Okay, cool.
the writing is pretty concise as far as like it's,
Okay.
it fits Shadowdark very well, I think. I just want to give a shout out to the Luis Prado is the cover artist, and you can find him on Facebook. Actually, I looked him up. I like that.
Really?
So much to look it up. But so yeah, that
Nice.
Cool.
today I was surprised. I knew he said that it was at the printer, but I was like, okay, but then it was there. And then today this showed up. So
Yay.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's a good source book.
been playing 3, so I had a gift card to Amazon, so I was like, well, I'll get that book too.
Nice.
Nice. Nice.
That showed up today. So
What
that's what I
you got
got.
anything new, Jason?
No Kickstarters. I just did a couple of surveys for Kickstarter, so some of my things will be coming in soon. But I found this. It's not old. It came out in 2024, so it's not like it's old or anything. But the Grey Knight is important to the Arthurian tales, so I was really happy to see it. I had to go to Rochester this week, so while I was there, I was like, I think I'm going to check out Millennium Games, which is a humongous game shop just inside of Rochester. It was like 5 minutes from the shop that I had to go to. So they have a great used book section. Went directly to it, looking at all the old second edition splat books, the brown covers. I'm constantly looking for HR3, one of the green ones that I don't have. They didn't have any of the green. Anyways, but they had this, and so I did not leave empty-handed. Walked out very happy. So that's all I got.
Nice. Ken, what about you? You got anything that came in or
Nothing that came in.
backed or?
I just backed another Daggerheart campaign frame in Sourcebook, although the name of it escapes me. I forgot that this happens at the beginning of each episode now. But it looks pretty good. I don't have any proof of that yet, though. So until I read it, I don't want to highly recommend it or anything.
It just looks good, and that's as far as you got.
Yeah.
What Edgelord? You don't like the you don't like the torch rules?
I'm with him. It'd be hard to go 13 levels deep on a 60-minute torch timer.
well, you're not. I mean, with any mega dungeon,
I
you're
mean-
not going to do 13 levels in a shot, right? So it's like,
Yeah, one, you're not going to do it in a shot, and two, you bring more torches, right?
or you hire somebody to just that's all they do.
Just be the torchbearer.
A torchbearer, sure.
Yeah. Torchbearer.
Yeah.
Light spell.
Yep.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
have a light spell.
I don't know about that being a non-starter. I think it's pretty good. I don't know. But yeah, it'd be hard. I don't know. I think it's okay. I think I think it works. I think it keeps people more focused at the table.
Mm-hmm.
Because the players, whatever, like they feel like they're cheating the system if they actually pay attention and go hard on getting stuff done or whatever, because it's like they might get normally, right, you get maybe like 4 or 5 rooms, and the GM's counting off 10 minutes a whack or whatever, and then it's like, oh, it's an hour, your torch goes out, you need another one. Whereas now, if the players are like really into it and really hammering the dungeon, they can get through 20, 30 rooms in like an hour, and they're like, yeah, we cheated the system, we got the the torch that lasted us through 30 rooms instead of 10.
Yeah.
And
We
and
we kind of-
secretly it's like 5 copper, and really you just made them pay attention to the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
when I played it I played Shadow Dark for a bit, and when we first started playing it, it wasn't so much. I mean, the torch timers, obviously, we paid attention to that. We have, there's a website you can go to that a guy named Todd Michael Putnam made that it literally has a torch. You can adjust the times. You can do all sorts of stuff with it. That's pretty neat. We use that, so that's player facing, and then, but the thing that really chugged us along was always being an initiative.
Yeah.
Like, we were literally like, we played the first session, we played like an hour and a half, and we cleared like 7 rooms, and we stopped because I think my character died, and then we all went back. I got a new character, and then we all went back to town, and then we were like, oh, we were so used to like more like D&D where it was like we thought we were not going to have time to do anything, and then afterwards we were like, we could have kept going because we were clearing rooms like a SWAT team. Like, it was just like bang, bang, bang. And the only negative to that happened was there wasn't a lot of role playing until a little bit later on. My second character, I brought in role playing just because of the nature of that character, and that got us going. But yeah, the always an initiative really moves you along, and it keeps people focused too because their turn is coming up.
Constant initiative. It's awesome. Yeah, it is. You always know when your turns are going to be, and it's always going to be in the same order. You don't have to worry about rolling initiative. I kind of like rolling initiative every round. We lost Jason here. I kind of like rolling initiative every round just because it's because you don't know what's going to happen. And
I got promoted.
It got.
I think Roger may have booted Jason so he can start working himself.
Yeah,
back to the
I'm
top.
working my way back in.
Matt, you're next. We know what's going on.
So I don't know. I like initiative every round. I think it adds to like the drama, I guess, or whatever. Like, you don't know, like, wow, the bad guys might go before you, or like you don't know like what's going to happen. But I understand that takes like a minute at least every time.
Yeah.
So.
The way we did is we rolled initiative at the beginning of the session, but then when combat happened, we re-rolled it.
You do it again. Yeah. So you have that dungeon. Yeah, that's how I've seen it done too. Is you have the dungeon initiative that kind of stays as you're just exploring, and then once you hit combat, you're rolling combat initiative.
Yeah.
But yeah, that like dungeon exploration in initiative definitely keeps people engaged. It keeps them thinking like, oh, okay. And especially if you're doing that sort of like, hey, Jason, you're up, Roger, you're on deck. Like, it keeps people thinking even outside of combat, like, okay, what are we doing? But you're right. It does put, that's the only thing is like some of that, what do they call it? Like fluffy bullshit time of just like role playing stuff. Seems to take a little bit of a back seat when you're really pushing initiative order for like dungeon mechanics, because it just pushes people to keep going through. So,
so it's interesting, right? Because I've been running a superhero game every week. And we've been using popcorn initiative. So one person goes, and then after they go, they hand it off to somebody else, and then they hand it off to somebody. So you really don't know, like, unless you strategize ahead of time, like, you don't know, like, all of a sudden somebody's going to say, hey, it's your go now, and you're like, oh, you got to go. And so there was talk beforehand that maybe it was going to turn into something like where people weren't going to pay attention or whatever until it was their turn, because you wouldn't know who was on deck or what the order was going to be. But it actually had the opposite effect, where everybody seems invested into what's going on and ready to just, they're just ready to go. And you've got, other players at the table that are like, okay, pass it to me, I can do this thing, or like whatever. And everybody seems invested. Whereas in my CNC game, where we all roll every round, everybody knows where they are. And the group we have now is pretty good. I don't want to, sound like I'm crapping on those guys or whatever, but there's a thing where it's like, okay, I don't go till 1, so I kind of have time to kind of like flip through the book, or like, you know what I mean? Maybe not pay attention as much, because I know I got till that countdown comes down. So I don't know. Yeah, it's an interesting kind of thing, and maybe it's group dependent too, but I mean, who knows? But the popcorn initiative thing has been working out really, really well.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
It's been a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I mean,
Yeah.
by miles
Yeah.
better. Yeah. I'm a
Well,
big
like I
fan
said
of it now.
before, that's just, with a good GM. I mean,
Yep, that's what it is. Boy.
Yeah, I mean, Dakota, what do you think about that? Like staying in initiative the whole time? Because I feel like that is sort of like sneakily one of everybody talks about the torch mechanic. Like, I haven't found the torch mechanic to be all that impactful. Maybe I just haven't played the right Shadow Dark modules yet. But the like being in the initiative all the time actually does feel like pretty mechanically and meaningfully different.
Yeah, it just kept everything really moving. I mean, like I said, the only detriment we had was it kind of because we kept thinking that way and we weren't role playing as much. We finally broke that and started it, but that initiative all the time was great because man, you got so much done. You just kept moving and everybody's like the torch timer did come into play. I don't think we've ever been in pitch black, but it would matter because there was a couple times where it wasn't looking that great for our party and my little goblin wizard was like, I'm about to piece out of this thing. But I'm like, shit, I don't have a torch. So I'd grab one of the other players and be like, hey, you got a torch? Yep. Okay. We should maybe make our way out of here or something, but because I knew as soon as I wandered out of the light, it was going to be bad.
I think that the torch timer makes the players aware that they're holding torches and that they need light. Like I think in like a regular game where somebody's like, okay, I'll hold the torch behind my shield or whatever.
Right.
Like it's like, oh, there's light down there. Okay.
Yeah.
We've got light.
They act like it's they act like it's tied to their head or something.
Right. It's a headlamp or something.
Yeah.
But if there's like a sand timer on the table or a digital timer that's like counting down, you keep looking at that going, okay, we're going to be rolling at disadvantage and, whatever, as soon as that thing goes out. So we got to make sure that timer stays up. So you keep, you pay attention to the torches. But yeah, I know some people have some issues with it, or like I don't get it. I think it's great. The live, torch timer thing. So the torches aren't cumbersome too. Yeah.
This is the website.
I was just thinking they need that.
.com. Guy named Todd Michael Putnam came up with this. So you can change we did some where we shortened it. It wasn't an hour. It was like half an hour. Or you can even hide so this flame will actually go down as the time.
Oh, nice.
You can hide that too as well.
We hide the timer.
Yeah.
So they don't know.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
So you can just watch the flame go down. That's pretty neat.
Can you do it?
Yeah.
Can you set it so that it's like 10% random?
That's exactly what I was wondering.
Yeah. So this way,
if
you have 60 minutes, now it's like, okay, between 50 and
plus
70
or 5 minutes.
Well,
yeah.
What you can do, I don't think you can do. You can put it on hardcore mode, which doesn't show the time, and then as the game master, you could go in and change it.
Just change it. Okay.
Yeah. Roll a D10.
Change it up.
Yeah, roll a D10, 1 through 5, you subtract 1 through 5, 6 through 10, you add or whatever, 1 through 5, yeah.
As a Shadow Dark newbie,
it even has sound.
No initiative mean.
No, so you roll initiative with Shadow Dark. You roll initiative as soon as
out of combat. Yeah, you're always in initiative. So like when you're just exploring rooms out of combat, you're in like crawler initiative. So like each person is like, so okay, so what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? You're basically staying in initiative.
It goes in a circle.
Yeah.
Whoever wins initiative, like it doesn't matter who gets second highest, you go clockwise. And on the GM's turn, that's when timers count down and the monsters go and all that.
Yeah, so it keeps everybody engaged. Like it's, you don't have that thing where like a couple of people when they're not in combat or it's not their turn, they're like not engaged. Like it's sort of like evens out the playing field of like what everybody's doing when they're out of combat. Yeah. I wanted to say too, the thing where I've seen the torch come up the most so far has to do with who's carrying it and how many light sources you have. And then when you get into combat, it's like, are the monsters attacking the light source? Like if you only have one light source, is the monster going to attack the light source? Or was the person that was carrying it, like, is that disadvantageous based on where you want them to be standing or not having a free hand? Like, do they have to spend a turn handing it off? Like that kind of stuff. To your earlier point, like you don't really think about when you don't have a mechanic that's sort of governing and dictating your attention to that resource, and then rules around what happens when you don't have it. because the game tells you what happens when you're in the dark, and it's really bad for the PCs. So like I've seen that happen, and I found that pretty interesting when we're playing with a GM and they're like having the monsters intentionally attack the light sources.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
recommended
that's
in the
interesting.
book
Mhm.
that they do.
Yeah.
That
So
they will attack like the light
you would roll
sources.
initiative for, because I like me running it. I would just keep initiative and keep that combat and keep the same initiative. Like I wouldn't roll initiative in combat. It's just like if the fighter is, if I'm the fighter and I kick the door open and there's orcs on the other side of it, and then Jason's to my left, like I kick the door open. GM says, "Hey, there's 6 orcs that are coming at you." Like, okay, then it's the next person's turn, Jason,
So
so he can
the
run
thing with
in
rolling,
or shoot or what.
the way the initiative works, and the thing with rolling combat initiative is like it works the same, but say I'm the game master and Jason, we're playing and Jason's sitting next to me and Jason rolls the highest. That's not necessarily good that Jason rolled the highest because he's going to get to go, then I'm going to get to go. And you want, because it just goes in the circle because the numbers don't matter after you get the highest number.
Right.
So it kind of you get that tension in there, like, oh shit,
Yeah.
like who's gonna, and then you don't know, like every time you could do it
Well,
every round if you wanted.
The rogue has
It
got
doesn't-
to the thief has got to sit to the GM's left like every session. I
Yeah.
think that's
So, but
that's the
it
thing.
adds that little bit of that tension to it, I think, which is very important.
Edgelord says it was hard for a mega dungeon to bring a boatload of torches from many levels. Yes. Yes, it is.
And
That's the point.
yes, exactly.
I don't know what else
Equipment
to say to that.
Chthonic Musing question, yes. In my games they do. Especially like when we ran Dragon Slayer and Shadow Dark. We didn't hire a torchbearer in Shadow Dark. We hired somebody to lug stuff for us. Just
The
treasure.
problem with hiring
Porter.
like torchbearers and stuff like that is, and people carrying stuff, if they're going down in the dungeon, like I mean, they're gonna get killed. I mean, like a torchbearer
protect
needs
them.
to be, well, yeah, but a torchbearer needs to be like a torchbearer can't be the 5th in line in the group
No,
because you won't be
yeah.
able to see anything. So they got to be right out in front. So they're going down first. They're getting hit by the first spear that's
Put 'em in
coming
the
out of
middle.
the darkness.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I would imagine you're trying to clear like a level or get to like a choke point or something you can secure, and then you're going back for supplies, right? And you're just
Sure.
rotating
Yeah.
through that way. I mean, I
Exactly.
imagine that's how
Yeah.
you do
Yeah.
it.
If you're
Yeah.
doing a mega dungeon, you're going to eventually at some point not want to go from level 10 to level 1 just to go get more stuff.
There you
You're
go.
going to find some place that you can secure it. Then maybe you hire people to guard it while you're not there.
Right.
Like that's their job. Like
Yeah.
you guys take care of this. All of our supplies are stockpiled here, so we only have to truck back to the 5th level of this place to get our stuff and then go back down.
It's
yeah.
amazing that one small rule about torches all of a sudden kind of makes you have to go back and play the way that like they originally with getting because now you have to get hirelings involved or but you know what I mean, things like that. It makes you kind of go back to that instead of like, no, we just the 4 of us are just going to power our way through the whole the whole thing.
Yeah,
And
no,
it
it's
just
not going
makes
to
that
work.
not possible. So it's interesting.
Yep.
So yeah, I like it. Yeah, torchbearer
And-
behind the fighter, sure.
And to its credit, the Dragon Slayer kind of had the same vibe. Like
Yeah.
Greg even has like a website where you can one-click generate, meat shield. It's called meat shields, but you can do torchbearers or porters or mercenaries or stuff like that. And that worked really well. We used that a lot in the games we ran this year and last year of Dragon Slayer. But
Yeah.
you had to hire people to help you. I mean,
Yeah.
and then Shadow Dark, because of the way encumbrance works, it's just slots. Kind of like Dragonbane's the same way. It's just slots. So you can only carry a little bit of stuff. Like having a fighter in the party is great. My son just rolled up one the other day. I mean, he's got like 20 slots because he gets to add like his con and all this stuff. Where most characters, they're lucky if they got 10. So I
Yeah.
think the combination of all that's really good, but it does lead you to we're going to need some help. You can't, if you want to come out of here with the loot, which is what you're going in there for, you're going to need to think about those things.
Yeah, this is a good tip too. Once you find a secret door, you load it up, put all your supplies there, and then it
Yeah.
gives you a good point to leave and come back, or leave with a bunch of people to come in and just supply that the
We
hidden
were-
closet.
We're
with
playing
supplies.
in the Dragon Slayer, playing Highfell. My son was running it. One of the towers we cleared in one of the levels, we found this room. We went into it and it had a fireplace. And as soon as we went in, it lit up and nothing bad happened in there. But we were like, holy shit, can we secure this room? Because this is going to be like our base of operations for right now to get us. And that's what we used it as. We didn't have to use it much, but we were able to secure it. So,
Yeah,
it kept us from
Mm.
trucking all the way back to town to get stuff. We just brought a bunch of extra stuff with us and left it there.
Yeah, I think that's part of what makes Shadow Dark a lot of people talk about what's made it so popular, right? It's the timing and the OGL thing, and it's Kelsey and the marketing.
there's a
and
lot. Yeah,
there's a lot of things, but I think the staying power of the game is about the game, and I equate it to 5e for me is like a Cheesecake Factory, where it's like you don't want to go to a restaurant and have a 40-page menu, right? So Shadow Dark, it's like, okay, I want to make a game that is about being in dungeons, and I want to add mechanics that make that the focus, but they're easy to understand, and I want to get rid of all the extra stuff. And then I want an art style and a layout that support that style of play and those and the mechanics. So all of that stuff works together. So I think people sleep. Yeah, they sleep a little bit on like the design philosophy and the work that makes the game so good, because it's sort of easier to be like, oh, it's the timing, it's the OGL, it's Kelsey. Like that stuff is definitely part of it. But you see a lot of $1 million Kickstarters come out, and then they come out and people go, oh, cool, and put it on the shelf, and that game's over.
Never play it.
Yeah. And that's not what happened with this game at all. So,
and on the Game Master end of it, I'm going to be running Shadow Dark for our Thursday night group coming up. My turn's coming up next. And the prep end of it is just awesome because it's so easy to prep.
Yeah.
Like it's just been actually fun to prep because it's so easy. You can focus more on other things than trying to noodle down every statistic and all this nonsense and rolling up the treasure and stuff. It's been such a relief to do that, And I run CNC normally, and that's not super hard to prep, but this is even easier.
Yeah, and I got the sense, Jason, that's part of what got you, really gassed up about what was that game called? Was it Blacklight? Or because it feels like that author kind of did the same thing. It was like, okay, I want to take this framework and apply it to this very specific thing, and then build out the parts that are important for that, and then throw out everything else. So that you definitely sold me on that. That game looks pretty awesome. So,
and I didn't want to talk about it tonight because I talked about it a lot last week, but I've got some days off and I've been sitting here reading the book, and seriously, man, every time I turn the page, I'm like, oh, this is amazing. He really nailed it.
Yeah, I gotta try and shoot him a message and see if he'll see if we can get Vic on. That'd be cool.
Is that book available, or is it just Kickstarter
it's,
delivered?
You can
it's available on drive through.
Yeah, you can
drive through.
Print on demand.
I promise it. If you're familiar at all with Kelsey's stuff, then you will not be disappointed with this. It's great.
I'll take a look at it.
Yeah, I think Decado, there's a lot of stuff in there that like you've talked a lot about, like Delta Green and stuff, and it's kind of like reminiscent of some of that, like some of that kind of similar stuff where you're like a task force and you're going to eliminate, basically going to these rifts or hunt down the monsters that are coming out of these rifts. Well, they're not called rifts; they're called
tears.
Something else. Tears, right? Tears. But yeah, it's like some of it is similar to what you've said, about sort of like the Delta Green stuff, where you're like a special ops, because you're like the black ops, guys that are geared up to fight these things. You're not like
you are.
Yeah, you're not like nobody like Joe Schmo off the street with a handgun, like going after, like you're like
Yeah.
a trained operative, special ops to go after, the vampires and all that supernatural stuff. So it's kind of cool. Yeah.
Well,
So-
it's only PDF.
Well, that's all they have is PDF on drive-through.
On drive-through, yeah.
No, I thought there was.
No POD. I thought they
Edgelord,
did,
you said you've got
Oh,
one
there
on the way to your
was.
place. How do you
Yeah.
how'd you get yours?
yeah.
No,
They
there
gotta have
was.
POD.
There was literally a POD like yesterday. It's not there.
Maybe he's
right
changing
now.
something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Maybe.
maybe. It's,
Yeah, it could be if they they'll pull it down for however long if they make changes. So yeah, it'll probably be back.
Yeah, I'll just wait until it comes back because
yeah.
sounds good.
Yeah, see, ours will be better. It'll have errata
Yeah,
taken care
well,
of.
Oh boy.
There's an errata next to
errata.
it, so maybe that's what he's
Yeah.
doing.
I
Maybe
see
he's
it.
fixing it.
I'll just be
Errata.
happy with my first printing.
boy.
Yeah. No, it's cool. I mean,
Jason, you got to
know,
go through your copy and like redact sections and do like the typewriter above it.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
yeah. No, it's good stuff, and I'm definitely looking forward to Jason running it and playing it. I mean, I'll run it, whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter either way. I mean, I don't know if you're more excited to run it or play it. It goes both ways when I talk to you.
That's the funny thing. Like I'm reading it and I'm like, oh man, this is awesome. But like, there hasn't been really a point where I've been like, okay, I really want to play this, or I really want to run this. I want to experience it. And I feel weird saying that because that's not my usual gig.
Yeah.
Usually I look
Yeah.
at the book and like, oh, I can't wait to make a character for this.
Yeah.
With this Blacklight, I'm just like, I don't care if I'm sitting at a table watching somebody else play. I'm really
Wow.
interested to see this world live.
Hmm.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I'm really happy with this thing.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Technobabble wants to do a collaboration, Takato. I don't know if you saw that.
I saw that. Yeah, I am kicking around an idea for
So-
writing an adventure. I just need to get
Yeah.
off my ass and
Cool.
actually start doing it.
Yeah.
That's the
No,
tough part.
that's cool. Yeah, and I'll consider it. I mean, I don't know if I'm like the right person to run it, because normally I do like a simplified firearms kind of thing, but it doesn't seem like it's that. Like it doesn't seem that bad. His system there. It's not. I don't think it's anything complicated. His firearm.
Yeah, if
rules
it's
and
built on
stuff,
Shadow Dark, it
yeah,
it should be.
Yeah.
good.
just roll and there's damage. Stuff,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, exactly. It's just range combat. It's no different
Yeah.
than shooting a bow. It
Right.
just does different.
which
different
is
damage.
great. I'm fine with that. I know some games get into that, and I know some people like the minutia of, how many shots I can fire around and what it drops because of like the recoil, and so you're only get so it gets worse with every shot, and and that's all fine. I get it, trying to map physics and all that, but like I don't want to have to make 8 rolls every round. You know what I mean? That's just
Yeah,
boom,
you
boom, boom.
you
turns,
you specifically mentioning recoil. At most of the modern type RPGs that I played have recoil rules or things like that, and after a while, if you've been playing it for a while, then it becomes second nature to most people. But like tonight's
Yeah.
discussion is a one shot. You
Yeah.
start throwing in rules like recoil on one shots, and a lot of people just start zoning out because it's
Yeah.
not something that everybody's interested in doing.
So
What a good segue there, Jason.
Nice.
yeah, that was
Don.
perfect. It was perfect
Yeah.
to get us back into the
That's a
thing.
pro move.
So one shots. I know I sent a short list out of it. There's a lot to talk about. I think for one shots. I wasn't sure exactly where to begin, but I guess the first thing I got is general understanding and rules for one shots, and I think oh boy, again
His
we lost
internet
him.
locked up.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think
Sorry.
in general, for one shots, I don't know if they're always linear. I've ran one shots that kind of are point crawls. I guess, where you can kind of choose which way to go. Matt, I've been in several of your games that are like that, where it's like, hey, you can go to these like 8 places or whatever, whether it's a ship or out in the blue sands or wherever. But it's I think even still, like the adventures have to be pretty linear. Like there's a pretty a fixed start and a fixed end point.
You got 4
You know,
hours to do an adventure. It's going to be A to B. That's the
Right.
nature of a one shot.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, like Vaults of Arn, I think you can do where you don't have like a pre kind of prepped adventure and you can kind of roll it, randomly because there's
You
enough
could.
stuff there on the tables, to do that. I mean, I still think you're better off having a pre-planned thing so that you can make the time or whatever.
Sure.
But yeah, I think having a wrap up, go from start to finish in a few hours, I think is a general thing. Now I know that some of you guys, I know Matt, you've done this, and I've never done this, but how do you feel about doing these multi-session kind of one shots where you have like a one shot and then you say, hey, here's part 2 that's, I mean, obviously, and you've done it really well where you've said, hey, this is part 2. You don't really need to be here for part 1, and just kind of jump in. But how has that worked out for you?
I mean, I haven't done it that many times. I mean, I think the challenge is when I've done it, I've had maybe 1 or 2 at the most people sign up for both sessions. So
Yeah.
there's not, generally you're not getting the same group of players over and over again. And it's hard at cons. People are trying to play certain games. They're trying to play with their friends. So the scheduling is going to be a challenge, I think, to make that work.
Yeah.
I know, like at Page, Cyrus is running Caverns of Thracia, like the whole convention. There was a Mepicon where Adam was running. Well, gosh, what's it called? The Call of Cthulhu Western campaign book that they did. He ran that for like the whole convention, and I jumped in on one of those, like in the middle.
Down darker trails, or
Down darker trails.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Darker Trails,
Yeah, so he just ran that for like the whole con. And I played one just randomly in the middle and still had a great time. So I think as long as the person running the game has taken the time to try to break it apart in places that make sense and kind of bring people up to speed, it can work pretty well. I will say generally I don't know how often I'm gonna I cheat when I do this a lot of times. I will so if it's Morkborg or Mothership, like I'll just make a connection between, because I think about it sort of like the DCC modules, or if you go back far, like the AD&D or D&D modules, where like they weren't connected campaigns, they were individual adventures, and then you're coming up with a world or a framework that connects these things. And so I'll cheat sometimes and just say, this is the connection I've made up between these, so it doesn't really, you don't really have to have played one, but if you play both, then cool, you can. When I did Morkborg, the player that played the second one, I let him level up his character, and nobody else got to do that, so give people a little benefit. So
and we did that continuation thing with you and Mothership that was from one convention to another. And I remember I showed up with my guy and you looked at the sheet and was like, your guy doesn't have a weapon. And I was like, I've got a plunger. I'm good. What do you mean? I got a plunger. I've plunged toilets with this thing. It's got to do some kind of, poison damage or something there.
I mean, I think that's something we'll get into, like the characters, like, pre-gens and throwaways. So I'll put a pin in that. I think that's something that I kind of learned, like needing to make modifications to the pre-gens if you're going to use them across multiple adventures. You got to make sure that they've got the right kind of stuff that's going to keep them interesting in whichever adventure they get run in. So that's kind of something I've hopefully gotten a little better at.
Yeah.
So you're not in there trying to plunge your way through another con or something. That would be not great.
Well, it was interesting, because in that first game, the plunger was like, I mean, I used that thing a lot. That solved a lot of problems, and it was fixing stuff. And then the second one was like more for like the Marines,
Mhm.
you know, to come in and shoot things up. And so I was a little, you know, I got a plunger. I don't
Mhm.
you guys can handle this one, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, and I had a blast still, plunger and all, you know, it was
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic. But yeah, so there's yeah, so definitely I've seen a lot of people doing that, you know, a step by step thing. And I know Kelsey's doing some things at some of the conventions now. I think starting at Page, they're like 1 hour slots.
Yeah, it's like a mega they're doing like a
And they're
mega
running-
dungeon scenario where they rotate GMs
Yeah.
every hour.
And they're
Yeah.
running like 8 slots or something, and they're each an hour a piece. So anybody can
Mhm.
like just jump in and out of the party that's going in the dungeon. It'd be interesting to see how that turns out, if it turns out, you know, really well or not. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. But,
I think it's an interesting way for them to get special guests to run stuff also, because it's just
Yeah,
a 1 hour
sure.
slot. Like, hey, can you sign up for a couple 1 hour slots? It's easier than, and it's like low prep, right? There's a framework of a mega
Yeah.
dungeon. It's low prep for the
all you got to
guests
do is
in.
get players from here to here, and put your own twist on it, and that's it. Yeah. No, it's definitely easier from that point of view. How about the rest of you guys? You guys been in or played like multi slot games, or have they just
Yeah.
like as far as one shots go?
Yeah, when I when I was getting into gaming again in Texas, the one shot by my wife's suggestion was like the way to meet a bunch of different players and use a
Mhm.
bunch of different systems.
Sure.
And so
sure.
a lot of them were just single session, but I would also, just because I like to write stories and I like to connect the dots, right? I would also drop in little things like last session they played the ancestors of the characters in this next one, and I
Okay.
wouldn't tell them unless they showed up again, and they were like, "Wait a minute, we left that sword there to become the magical sword of whatever," and it was just like a fun Easter egg. But yeah, as far as like trying to keep the same characters in the same thing, I think I probably wouldn't do that. Like I would allow it, but I wouldn't plan on it because, like you said, Matt, the scheduling is like the thing that you're trying to overcome with a one shot. I feel like
Mhm.
in my experience, the one shot's there so that you don't have to get people together, you know,
Yeah.
5 times
Yeah.
in a row or whatever.
Whoever shows up, shows up.
Yeah, yeah.
Play.
So, see, I drop Easter eggs. I also like doing that because having the players play through the first session helps me think about the background of the next session, so that
Mhm.
some of my world building was done by the players at the table last time.
Okay.
But now I can just
Yeah.
kind of sketch in those details. So,
Yeah, Mothership has a box for high. I think it's called high score. So it's just keeping track of how many sessions you've survived.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
some of the
nice.
players I've had at conventions like have brought back the same character because they're ticking up the high score box to see how many adventures they can play through before their character dies. So,
Mm.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've got a folder that's in my backpack all the time that has like all my character sheets and stuff from
I keep them too.
conventions and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's cool because like when Matt's gonna run a game and he runs a Mothership game, like I got my dude, and I'm like, okay, great. He was on this freighter, and then now he's, you know, somehow he's like on this space station, you know, and still has no gun, but you know. It's, you know, and it's just it's cool because it feels, you know, connected. And George does that with the CNC games. He always says, hey, you know, this is for, you know, 3 to 6 level characters, whatever. So if you've got you know, got that, so you know, if you had a 4th, 5th level character, you know, you can just keep playing them, and it's kind of fun, you know. Yeah,
I would do
Technobabble.
that. I saved mine, but like the ones I got like from Talanian when I played with him, they all died, so I couldn't use them again anyway.
Well, yeah, yeah.
But I saved them.
I don't know where this fits in the presentation, but I have some advice for Technobabble as far as how to get a better story out of your one shots.
Go ahead if you got it. If you got it and it's there, and
Let's
his
do it.
comments are- let's do it. Yeah.
So this is something that goes through my mind because I'm a story type person. I've been playing Rogers games for, I think this is a year, going on a year now, maybe
I,
8 months, 6 months, something like
I
that.
don't know, 6-8 months maybe.
Well,
I don't know.
I've been learning about different styles of gaming, right? This is a big style of gaming that I'm not good at, which is the wander around without a story, except you're making your own story, right? But normally as a GM, I'm trying to craft the story. And so one shots are like, they are challenging, right? Because you think about the big bad has to get up to a lot of trouble and cause a lot of strife, and you need a couple encounters for the. Well, so the tips for getting a good story out of a one shot: number one, you don't have time to do a lot of the stuff you normally do in games, like shopping, building the
Yeah, oh
characters
yeah.
at the table. You really got to take all the extraneous stuff and chop off the ends of it so that you can spend the meat of the one shot playing the game and getting into dramatic situations, whether that's combat or conversations, right? A second thing to help with your timing, try to limit your descriptions of places to like 3 sentences and then pass it back to the players and get them to do something, right? You need to end your description on the thing that they probably should focus on, but kind of maybe drop them a couple other things in that description, but don't spend a whole, paragraph and a
Yeah.
half. They don't need exposition. Try to start in media res if you can.
Yes,
right?
definitely.
So try to speed it up for one. For two, the way that a one shot can be even a better story than your other games is that in many games that have stories like that, you're afraid to kill the characters, and you'll do whatever you can to like try and not whatever you can, but you're less likely, even as a player, to try and make a mistake which would lead to some problem that they have, right? So in a one shot, you have this golden opportunity of really being able to push them, really being able to give them hard decisions. And everybody came to the table knowing that was going to be the case. So nobody's going to get upset that,
Yeah.
oh, this guy, I died heroically doing that thing, right?
Yeah, and on the player end too,
yeah.
with that, it makes it easier because
Yeah.
the players know that, hey, this is a throwaway character or whatever. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
matter if he shows up next time. So they're more willing to be like, oh yeah, there's an ogre in there. Yeah, I charge headlong into it. Whereas in a
Yeah.
campaign game, if there's one hill giant, the party might say, oh geez, we're not.
We
we're
got to
not
go back
doing
to
that 'cause one of
town.
us
We got to
might
get
killed.
some mercenaries. Maybe we'll level up. Yeah. And that's happening.
Just for an example. Just for
As an
example.
And then, trying to write a tight, dramatic story is tricky. Doing a bunch of one shots is one way to get better at that.
Yeah, definitely.
You need one situation they need to fix quickly. You need a twist, probably with an NPC, and you need a moral decision for them near the end, maybe with a betrayal. And if you can add those elements, by the time you get to the end of that one shot, this will be one of the more memorable games they played this year, I think. So give that a shot. A lot of my one shots have ended up being like the things that stood out to me because, the pacing was like watching a movie, right? We got to get to the next scene and make the story happen.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely starting in media res is like important, and that saves a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the time to like get to that point, but like all the exposition, the hanging around. What are we gonna do? Let's stop here. It's like, no, you're like, oh, you got to get on the boat and go over to this island and like do the thing.
Yeah.
No, the boats, you're just pulling onto the shore. You know what I mean? You're just pulling the boat ashore, and then you can't stop at that point either and say, okay, what do you guys want to do? You're going to walk to this cave or whatever. As soon as the boat hits the shore, you tell them this thing comes out of the cave and is like attacking you, or this creature has like a baby that that you're trying to rescue, and it like runs into the cave, and like you definitely got to have some of that stuff there. Chubby, Chubby was talking about this with an Alien game that he ran. That I don't remember what adventure module it is for the Alien game, but it starts off where everybody's kind of waking up out of their pods and
It's the first
know,
one, I
and-
think. Yeah.
and coming up. Yeah. And he says that one of the guys that he watched run it like starts with alarms going off, the
Mhm.
ship's about to crash, and like it's boom, boom, boom. So like it's not like, oh
Great
yeah,
idea.
we'll get up, we'll just put some pants on and we'll dilly dally for 20 minutes. It's like, no, oh shit, alarms are going off, the ship's gonna crash. We all got to get up and run in our in our skivvies to to
Yeah.
try and turn the ship or figure out stuff what's going on, and you're just boom, you're right in the middle of it.
Matt, isn't that how your whatever system mothership with the meat magnet, isn't that how
Yeah.
that started? I just remember us like going immediately because the
Yeah.
ship was blowing
Yeah.
up, we thought.
So yeah, I think so. So there's I definitely agree, Ken. I've noticed like you'll find a lot of Charity of the God, Christmas of the Gods,
Christmas
Charity
of the
of the
Gods, I think, was a
that'd be
better,
a different
better
one.
module.
Charity of the Gods, yeah.
Winter edition.
I've definitely noticed a lot of one shots have, if you play them as written, especially fantasy ones, they have the whole thing of like the Duke summons you to, and he offers,
Oh,
and
my
it's like
God.
he's going to offer you a quest. If you say no, then there's no game. So
Yeah.
like just fast forward to that. Like you've all
Yeah.
accepted the Duke's quest to do X, and now you're here and this is happening.
And you're
Right.
at the cave and you hear
Yeah.
a scream and arrows start shooting at you or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
The only reason I would not do that, like, is if you've signed up for a 3 or 4 hour slot and you only and the adventure is only 2 hours, right? Now you're playing with the length by sort of arbitrarily adding this 15 or 20-minute thing where it gives people a chance to do a little intro for their character and stuff like that. If you need that filler, then great. If you don't, then just get rid of it and just jump right into it.
Yep.
But yeah, Jason, like I try to pick modules that sort of start in the action. So both the mothership ones that you played kind of like you're starting in a situation where things are immediately obviously not right, and you're
Right.
trying to figure out how to survive and solve and escape, right? And then I also like ones that have sort of some kind of natural propellant to them. So with the dead weight is the one where there's that artifact that is like causing the
meat magnet.
the meat magnet. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a timer in that module that sort of tracks, like if the PCs don't do anything, this happens at this time, and then this happens at this time. And so the module has this natural propulsive force to it. I think those are the ones that are really good for one shots. You have a group
Yeah,
of strangers that may not be, maybe they have different experience levels, different comfort levels. A module like that sort of pushes the party to act. And I think that's a good thing for one shots.
Yeah, definitely something where you got to act and right away and make some decisions. Otherwise, like you said, like you start getting into like, oh, well, what are we going to do? Should we get some stuff or what do we get? Let's check this out or what? Yeah. And it's,
The
That whole
alternative
thing
for
of-
me, like if you're doing a point crawl, is like making sure you've got, or any kind of sandbox type of situation, is that it's very obvious that there's different factions and they have their own motives. And then you have some weirdos in there for the people to interact with. You get a few little NPC weirdos that have, something that's memorable or have a certain agenda. And like those things will naturally propel people because they want to align with one of those factions. And that pushes the group forward to take action.
Mhm.
Sure. Absolutely.
That whole thing of being summoned to the Duke, he's got a quest for you. I was running a one-shot 5e. I was already not happy because it was 5e, but I was going to run it anyway. And so I'm at the table. I've got everything all set up. The players sit down. There's 5 of them. And I started it by the players are inside the tavern and they yell for help is heard from outside. And the guy bursts in. Goblins are attacking the village. Please help defend the village. All 5 of them looked at me and went, I don't really care about the village.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, okay, no problem. Closed my book and I left.
Yeah.
End of story.
Yeah, I mean, what are
Yeah,
you gonna do with that?
You gotta.
If you don't want to play D&D, man, don't sit at my table.
Well, that's
I don't have
crazy.
time
Yeah.
for that.
But like, see, like something like that, and I'm not saying you did anything wrong, right? I mean, those guys, obviously, if you don't want to play the game that's there, like, you don't do it. But
Yeah.
like, I would start that with, you just left the tavern. It's late at night,
Sure.
and you get ambushed by goblins, right? And now there's like now there's no way out of it unless you want to run back in the
Right.
tavern and bolt the door or whatever.
if you're sitting in the tavern with your feet up on the table and the goblins are attacking,
Yeah.
what do you think's going to happen? They're going to
Right.
burn the tavern to the ground.
yeah, right.
What
Right.
are you doing?
Right.
Yeah.
If you don't want to play, okay, cool. But like I said, it was 5th edition, so I didn't care. So when they didn't want to take the hook, when they didn't want to take the bait, and bite it, I was like, cool, my Xbox is calling. Peace.
Yeah.
That was the end of that.
The Skyrim's
Yeah.
not going to play itself.
That's right.
Yeah, right.
Skyrim
Right.
never disappoints me.
That's
See,
a,
Edgelord-
this is great.
Edgelords, we started in a dungeon. We had to pick a lock and get on. We all failed. I've made this comment before, and it goes both ways. But never, as a GM tip, whatever. Write this down, kiddos.
Yeah.
Never ask for a roll that you are not prepared to deal with the consequences of, and that goes for things like this, where there's a thing that they have to get past. And it goes for stuff that you don't want to give the players. That one player that's like, oh, I want to try and pickpocket the king's crown off of his head in front of everybody. And you can't, as a GM, say, okay, right? Because they're going to roll a natural 20 and then they're going to turn the whole campaign upside down or whatever. Or the door, the barbarian's going to try and kick it and he's going to fail. The wizard doesn't have knock that day, and the thief's going to fail, with a natural 1 and break his pick. And now what? Now they got to get through that door, and that's your fault. You got to tell them, after. So what I generally do is after the first person fails to get through the door, it doesn't matter anymore, because whatever's on the other side of it already knows they're coming. So I usually just say, okay, you guys take a few rounds, and then you get through the door. Like, there's no door that. I'm not going to have I'm not going to have 8 players roll to see, hey, can you get through this door? Like, if a player wants to get through the door, they're going to get through the door at some point,
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I mean-
especially true in a one shot, right?
A lot of what you're talking
Right.
about is why I think a lot of us kind of recoil from modern 5e adventure design, because it's like just walk in a
Roll for
room and
everything.
everybody roll. You have a DC 15, and what happens if
Yeah.
everybody fails? It just grinds to a halt, or you just roll it again. Like it's, I think it having and going back to Shadow Dark, right? What's the penalty for failing? Your torch is burning down, right? You're in a
Right.
dungeon. There's a random encounter roll. Like there's older D&D design had checks there for a reason, because things happen when they failed. And modern 5e, a lot of times it's like you have 5 or 6 people and you just assume somebody's going to pass. Well, what's the point of having that roll then? Because if they all fail, the thing grinds to a halt. And if they're all going to pass it anyway, why are you rolling dice? So
at that point, if there's a thief in the party and they say, okay, I'm going to pick the lock. It's okay. It takes some time. You pick the lock.
Yeah.
Like that's it.
Or
you make a roll. You make a
If
roll.
the- yeah, go ahead.
If that roll fails, then you say, okay, you guys got to physically open the door. Take some time. The barbarian kicks it. You guys are able to shoulder whatever until the door opens. And you just, narratively, and the consequence to that, like Matt, like what you're saying. Well, if you're in a dungeon and you got 3 guys kicking a door, like instead of picking the lock, well, I'm going to roll a random encounter now because
right.
it's just somebody heard that. So that's the
Yeah.
penalty for failing. But you don't want to have these multiple penalties stack up to you say, like what Edgelord said, like, what do you do? Okay. Oh, you guys are stuck in the room. Okay. Everybody dies in the starting room. Thanks for coming. Like, what do you know?
Yeah, like with your door example, right? It's time, it's noise, or if it's trapped, then you pick the lock and set off a trap, right? But all of those failure states keep propelling the game forward. And I think 5e does a very bad job teaching people how that should work.
Yeah, it's
because
really
they just
weird.
put DCs on it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry,
The
Ken.
number
Go
of
ahead.
times- Oh no, I'm just to add to that, just the number of times you'll be presented in a 5e module or another like semi-modern module with this is a pass fail, but it's essential that they do it.
Mhm.
So hopefully they pass. And the
Yeah.
trick there, I think, is to turn it from pass failed to yes and or yes but, right?
Mhm.
Like, yeah, you rolled under it, but you're going to get through, but the guy on the other side is going to hear you.
Yeah.
Or it's not as quick as you wanted or whatever.
Yeah. The sleeping guard is no longer sleeping, and now he grabbed his sword, and now you have a harder fight than, sneaking up on the sleeping guy or whatever. Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. Sure. Yeah, and that's especially important in, one shots, because
Yeah.
you don't want to waste time with, people making it's same thing with starting in media res. Like, you don't need all this extra bullshit tacked onto it. You want to get to the meat of the game, and and get through it, right? And and kind of on that, I think when the GM is coming up with the story, or when they read through for prep, like, they need to be sure that there's areas that can get cut out easily,
Mhm.
and say, hey,
Yeah, it's a good point.
these extra
Yeah.
rooms are here. If it's, if we hit the 3-hour mark and we're not here yet, these 2 rooms disappear, and
Yeah.
we go right to
Yep.
the right
There's
to the
not
end
going to be a
boss.
puzzle and a mini boss. We're just going to walk into the boss room after this, right?
Yep.
Yeah, the next door.
You got to
Yeah,
be
the boss
flexible, because
Yeah.
everybody, all groups move at their own pace, so like if you need more stuff, it's good to have extra stuff. And then if you have that, like Roger was saying, stuff you can just be like, yeah, that's not going to happen. We don't have
Yeah.
time for it. So
Yeah, and I've been in one shots where, like, the GM, like, will just run it as written, and you get to the end of the 4-hour mark and it's time, and, like, we didn't finish the thing, and the GM's like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
okay, well, you guys had a couple rooms to go before you got to the big baddie, and it's like, wait, what? Like, we didn't
Yeah.
like, yeah, there was this big cool fight, but you didn't do it,
Oh,
so
wow.
you guys wasted 4 hours. And it's like, wait, what? Jesus, like, I wish we didn't spend a half an hour trying to get through that first door we were supposed, or whatever. I mean, it's
Right.
like, why did we cut stuff? Like, that's just, it's it loses stuff for, the GM. Obviously, he wants to get to the to the end, like, to their, like, when I'm running, like, I want the players to get to the big baddie and see this cool thing that I've got, instead of like, oh yeah, sorry, you guys didn't make it. I'm like, well, it's just a feel bad for them. The players want to get there. They want to kill the big baddie,
Yeah.
right? Because you've talked
What
them
they're
up
there for.
the whole time. Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
a pretty, even beyond like one shots, I think that skill as the game master is pretty important, like that
Sure.
adaptability, flexibility. And that's a really important skill, because you could have even your regular session, and you're like, well, I kind of want it, not that I'm steering it, but like, this either it's not hitting right with your players, you can tell like this really isn't working, so let's just
Yeah.
move on from this. Or maybe it like the fighter with his like Cast Crusades, his combat dominance, really likes whooping the crap out of, because he doesn't get to do it a lot, like a bunch of goblins, because he's 8th level or whatever.
Yeah.
And he really liked that room that had 30 goblins in it. So you give him another one, just to let him revel in that
Mhm.
moment a little bit more. Same wizard gets to throw a fireball down and just scorched earth.
Yeah.
You gotta be able to read your players and be flexible too. Like I
They did
change
that.
stuff in my games all the time.
Yep.
Because of
The
those
guys on
reasons.
my CNC game did that. I think it was 2 weeks ago. Was there 100 orcs, 200 orcs
There's 200 orcs.
down,
It was
down the
ridiculous.
hill? And Ken
Yeah.
is like, oh, I got 3 fireballs. Like, just,
We can
I
take 'em.
I had to retire that character. that was
just like
too
50
much.
of them a pop, right? Like, just boom, boom, boom. Like,
I
and
do
then
think-
Jason, I think, has got his ranger and is like, he's like, pick off one. It's Ken's turn. Is like,
Well,
all
my
right,
whole
40,
thing is
45
I
of them
wanted to cause
die.
an avalanche and take him out with the avalanche.
Yeah.
Yeah, which we also
And they did
up
that
doing
too.
that
Yeah,
here,
you guys did that too. But yeah, it was really, really interesting. Yeah, it was cool.
I
So
will-
yeah, no, it's definitely fun to take out the low level characters, to just wipe out, 50 guys in one shot.
Yeah.
I will say 2 things on running one shots. I recommend anybody who is learning to DM do a bunch of one shots.
Yeah.
Some Ducato said was you got to be able to read your table, and that's like secretly the most important skill you have as a DM is knowing your table, right? You can play games with almost no rules, and if you can read your table, that's going to be a fun game. And if you can't read your table, the best game in the world is going to suck. So doing one shots and getting feedback on them is a way to quickly iterate on your skill set, right? But the other thing you need to be able to do is have an intuition about the time that it's going to take to get through this series of rooms and where the dramatic moment to stop is and how to make those two things meet at the same time. And one shots will also give you that skill. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And on that, I would say too, like it's important to run different systems, but also if you're gonna run one system and run that same one shot multiple times.
Yes.
Like don't just run, hey, I'm gonna run, Shadow Dark, this module, and once you run it's okay, I'm gonna switch to something else. No, run that same module again for a different group and run it several
that's true.
times. And then after you run it, it's like amazing. After you run it like 5 or 6 times, you can run that whole game generally without anything in front of you. Like you don't need yeah, you have to look at a map or something, or maybe look at stats or whatever. But after you run it a handful of times, and then like Ken was saying, you just run the module, and you can run it and just run it off of the table, and and where the table's going and stuff, and it'll be so much better because you can adapt it as you're running it instead of reading it off the sheet.
Yeah, I was going to say something similar, Roger, and I think people may have different feelings about this, but I've run some very, we're talking about linear adventures. So the Sinking Tower, for instance, is the 2-hour free RPG Dragonbane module. I like that one a lot. It's timed to 2 hours. It has puzzles on each, like not all the floors are puzzles, but most of them are, and they are well telegraphed. Like if you describe the rooms and use the maps, I've found that players generally can intuit their way through those puzzles, which is a good sign that they're well constructed. Because I think we've all like played games where there's a puzzle and you're just banging your head on a wall for 20 minutes and not advancing. It's not like that. But I would say I've run that probably 3 times. It is super linear. So I, as a GM, can't say that I would look forward to running that one a 4th, 5th, or 6th time because it's going to play almost exactly the same every time.
Sure.
When I look now, I've run the Mothership adventures, 2 of the ones that you guys played, and then also Roadwork I've run a bunch of times. Those I would run over and over and over again because they're a little bit sandboxy and they're not going to play out the same.
Right.
It's the same with Rot Black Sludge from Morkborg. I've run that like 10 or 15 times. And between the branching paths and the 2 factions and doing reaction rolls for all the encounters and then the random encounters, it's never the same. It plays out so differently. So while I know all the components, I know the rules, I know all the rooms, and I know all the possibilities, I don't, as a game master, I don't know how they're going to unfold. So that keeps me like really engaged and interested to keep running it, because no matter how many times I've run it, like people come up with weird, different solutions to problems that haven't happened before. And so those are the type of modules that to me, like I want to find those and run them. But to your point, running it over and over and over again, where you don't have to, it's helpful to have it there, but you can almost go like, I could run this almost without the book now. I think that is definitely as a GM, if you're trying to learn, that is like a really good tip. I agree with that wholeheartedly and recommend it.
Yeah, once you can look up from the pre-written module and watch people's reactions to what you're saying instead of you having to read a text block, right? I think you are more likely to be building those skills of getting to know what people react to or how to read the table, and can react you know, more naturally to what they're doing and to what the reaction roll was or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's part of what makes Starless Sea generally considered like the best
Yeah.
of those. It is fun to run multiple times because it's going to play differently. And there's other funnels that are super linear and they're fun to play or run a couple times, but then it's like, okay, I know what this is going to be. And no, I don't often run stuff online, and that's more of like me not being super comfortable with like VTTs and Discord just because of time limitations. I've played and stuff online, but it's probably something I need to get, just commit the time to. But yeah.
You don't get that the feeling's completely different. You don't get that that interaction that you do, at the table, and that's what it is for me anyway. That's why
I've played some online games where people were really engaged. I think generally I feel like if it's a group of friends that know each other, offline, I think that solves a lot of that stuff.
Helps.
Yeah.
Like if you were running something, Roger or Jason or something, like I'm not going to be disrespectful to you guys and be watching a YouTube video when it's not my turn, right? Like it's because I know you guys. Like it's not, you know what I mean? And I feel like I've played with some random groups online where it's like you can tell like this person is really not paying attention.
Well, when I used to run when we transitioned my Star Wars game to online years ago for COVID, the Discord, we were using Discord for the voice chat, and Discord's got the thing where you could see, like, it says next to the players' names, like who was doing stuff. And like we had some of the players, and it would be like Hearthstone was like the thing that everybody was playing. And all of a sudden I'm running my game and I see two of the players like pop up like almost at the same time that they're running Hearthstone. And like they're typing like to each other, and they're basically like, "Oh, you want to get a quick game in?" And like, and they're playing Hearthstone with each other while I'm running a game, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Like, this is ridiculous." But yeah, and those are people that I know, so I appreciate you, Matt. But it's terrible. But yeah, that's the thing with playing online is you never know what's going on. People are.
It's
off
hard.
doing their own thing. Yeah. And some people aren't suited for it, I guess, but I don't like it. I like being able to look around the room and, but I mean, that's just me, but that's a different show. We'll do a different show on
How to play online.
Online playing. Yeah. Yeah. That'll be exciting. I know that we use in most of the one shots that I've played. I think we've all had pre-gens or brought characters in. I don't know. There's like Vaults of Varn. We played Vaults of Varn with you, Matt.
Yeah, I think that's you like guys to roll your
that's a great system to do that with, though, because it's like, hey, here's and it's laid out like all kind of in order in the book in a good way, where it's like here, you roll this. And then you roll on this chart, and then you roll on this chart, and then you roll on this chart, and you just mark the stuff down. And I think it's really easy. And I think, Morkborg does the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, where it's like, hey, you roll randomly for this, you roll for that. Here's your chart in charts for what you get. You get things like, Pirate Borg, where you get to roll what kind of hat you've got, and it's cool. And the character creation, even if somebody doesn't know, it's 10, 15 minutes maybe. And I think there's only a few systems that you can do that with. Otherwise I think you got to have pre-gens. I don't know. Yeah, Morkborg, yeah.
Yeah, Rob Black Sludge is Morkborg and Starless Sea is DCC. I think that's a good discussion topic, Roger, because I'm definitely curious what other people's opinions are. Like I do find that some people really don't want to make a character, and some people really do. So but I'd say that's probably like 80-20. Like probably 80% of people don't really care. They're very happy to just, if I'm coming to a con, let me just pick a pre-gen, especially if it's a system they haven't played before, where it's like going to be a whole ordeal to make a character. But I do find that making your own character creates an attachment that even if you're just
Yes.
rolling it up fast, like you have an attachment to that character that maybe you don't have if it's a pre-gen. Now, I as a player haven't had too much trouble with that. Like I try to get to the table early, find something that's appealing to me, and I can usually have fun playing almost any kind of character.
Right.
But that's not true of everybody. So
Yeah.
I think when the system allows it, it's an interesting way to teach the rules a little bit, and it's an interesting hook for people to get attachment to this character that they're going to be inhabiting for 3 or 4 hours. So I think there's value to that. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are, where you land on that, but
I usually just want to play, but I remember Bloodworth gave us the option one time, and his CNC, he ran the adventure from the new starter set, and we had the option of making characters, but I'm different too. Like I run CNC at home, and I've played it, so I don't know if any of us made. I didn't. I just grabbed the cleric and was like, let's play.
Yeah, but so what was he
he
going
did
to
it,
do? Was he
though.
going to run it? He was going to have people create characters in like the first, because CNC, it's like it's not. I mean, it's
The
fairly
adventure
simple
really
to
isn't
make a
that
character,
long,
but
though.
it's I mean,
Yeah.
but still, you're going to spend a half an hour, 45 minutes making a character. If you
Well,
don't,
part of his
just-
thing was he's doing the starter set, and it's some thing that Troll Lords is doing too. So like he actually reports back his game. I'm not sure
Okay.
exactly how it works. So like giving people the option of like this, we were using the starter set. So it's like, this is how you make your character. But he also had pre-gens right there. Like, so if anybody, like I said, I don't know if anybody did. They might have. I didn't.
Yeah.
I was just like, nope, I'll play the cleric and let's get
I
after
just
it.
think it would be like CNC would be a game where I would say if you're going to create characters, like you got to tell people show up like a half hour before start time, because like me as a player, like I don't want to go to a con game and sit
just sit
down
there and
to like a 1E game.
Yeah,
Like
no,
give me
I
a
don't.
pre-gen. Like I don't want to sit here for an hour or the first 45 minutes of a game while everybody like rolls up a character. Like I said, like Vaults of Varn, Morkborg, if you're rolling up something that's based on BX or White Box or something like you could do that in 15 minutes if you don't know the system. If you know
Right.
the system, you could do
I mean,
it in
like
5.
Shadow Dark's that way too. Like you could die in Shadow Dark game, and by the time your turn comes around, you probably should have another character rolled up. It's
yeah,
not that hard.
Mothership's the same way. Like the
Right.
you can make the character sheet is a flow chart, and there's a couple. If you print out the couple pages where you have to roll stuff, like you can, exactly
alright.
to your point. By the time initiative order comes back through, even if you don't know how the game works, if you just follow the flow chart, you can make up a character in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That's funny putting faces and stuff. Chthonic Musing was in that game of Bloodworth that I played in. We actually sat next to each other because he played the druid.
Oh, cool.
That's
Nice.
funny.
Yeah, half the fun is knowing what you're going to play as character. Yeah. And I agree with that too. Like I always try and play characters that I wouldn't normally play in a one shot, or do I what? You don't like that? You think I play characters that I would play?
Oh, no.
Is that
I
how
think
that
Jason
looks
was thinking he's not like that.
Right.
You're not like,
disagree with
okay.
that statement.
That's because
Yeah,
I said it.
it's-
You said the look, so I was like, wait a minute. I think I play a good
I
variety.
said the
of stuff.
look.
And
I have a
I was
patented
gonna-
look.
And I was gonna throw it back at you and say, no, I think you're the typecast one.
Yes. But really,
I want the Ranger. Give me the Ranger.
a lot of
Those
it's
first
on the
words.
system. Like
Sure,
if
sure.
I sign up for Weird Frontiers, I'm playing a gunslinger.
Yeah.
Period.
yeah.
I am going to play
Ranger.
a gunslinger, or I'm going to find something else to do because that's what I want to play. If I'm playing CNC, I will usually play a Ranger. I played a cleric, and in fact, I played the same cleric in a couple of George's one shots, and I've always had a blast with him because I made him this dirty old man, and I had a blast playing that guy. You were playing a barbarian in that, weren't you? Is that what you were? I just remember that you and I were pulling guard together. We were sitting around the fire, and I was telling you about the third time that I had syphilis.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah. I think
the
I was a
tape
barbarian in that one.
rolling because I was just, not me, my character, my cleric was talking about his STDs. These things happen. And in fact, what I said was, God, but once I can cast Cure Disease, those days are over, my friend. And I said that, everybody started laughing. I was like, oh, thank God that landed properly. So, but anyway, but it really depends on the system. If it's a system that I'm maybe a little bit more familiar with, I know what I want to play, or really it's that I know what I don't want to play. But like with Mothership, when, the first time we played with Matt, man, I didn't have a clue. I had no idea what I was doing. So I was like, yeah, I'm just going to take this guy and see what happens. The Vaults of Varn, is that what it was? We got there early and I sat down. So I had the book in front of me and I was like, oh, this is cool. I've got an idea for a character in my head. So I started writing it down. And you sat down and said, okay, now we're going to roll at random characters. And I was like,
Yeah.
I have, so that's on part of that's on me because there's certain, this goes back to honestly when I was a kid. Like we talked about the TMNT Palladium book, right?
Yeah.
I made like 1,000 characters. I think I played that game once in my life, but I made like 1,000 characters because they were just so fun to just. So Vaults of Varn for me, it gives me, that's part of why I love that game so much, is it gives me that feeling of like I could just sit down and spend a half hour rolling up characters and be like, look at this crazy guy that I just made. I want to play this guy. I want to see what adventures this guy gets up to. So I kind of enjoy just making people do that because it's fun for me.
Sure.
I never really thought about how it might not be fun for you.
No. It was not an issue. The character that I rolled up was totally the opposite of what I had in mind. But my only issue with it, like I said, it wasn't an issue, was if I had known ahead of time that I was going to be rolling up, okay, we're all going to sit down the first 20 minutes, we're going to be rolling characters. I wouldn't have even have bothered. I've been like, okay, cool. We'll see what happens, and I'll play with whatever I get. So it's not a problem. I just want to know ahead of time. And so like when I register for a game at a con, I want the DM to put in his description, we will be using pre-gens. We will be rolling at the table. That way I know what I'm walking into. Because it's not a big deal the way. I just like to know ahead of time.
That's fair. The way you rolled, it wouldn't have mattered what kind of character you put together. So
no, it certainly would not have mattered.
And that was a blast. And I think Vaults of Varn, like that's one of those systems where like pre-gens just wouldn't like showcase the system and like whatever. I think rolling on these random charts for the characters and stuff is what really kind of like makes the game. And my daughter, Matt, will not like, she loved that game so much. She had a blast. She tells the story that all the time to all her friends that she played this mushroom man that was like hooked on drugs and like walking around in the blue sand desert and like all this stuff. And I backed the second edition of the game with extra core books so I can run it for her friends. Nice. It's just awesome. So
nice.
Ken, you were I kind of jumped in.
I want to give the counterpoint to doing rolled characters. I'll be the devil's advocate here.
Yeah, sure.
Because it ties into that earlier comment about how do I make a good story. If you have a theme or a story arc in mind for your one shot, having pre-generated characters who already live in the world can be really helpful to help drive that action.
Sure.
Because you can give them the sister that is in that town or the honorable, code, right? That means that they must go do something about the evil. So, although I agree, rolling characters, there's a couple of systems. I think when I was a kid, Gamma World was the one that I was constantly going back to and like, I want to see what kind of mutation this guy will get. Oh my God, he's a raccoon with tentacles. That's so cool. All right, start over. I'm going to roll a new guy. So there's pros and cons to
there is, yeah. It definitely goes back and forth. I don't think it's that difficult to have like a list of things written out like on paper that say, okay, your sibling is the princess and your task was to guard this person and you failed or whatever, or things like that kind of thematically hook them into the story. In my kind of thing is and all I'm trying to like, I would rather have pre-gens, I think, for 90% of the one shots that are out there.
Yeah.
I just think that there's certain systems and like Vaults of Varn, I think is one of them where like part of the fun of that game is just rolling on the random tables, to just make your character and even like Morkborg, like maybe not Morkborg, but like Pirate Borg, like you get to roll like what weapon your guy has, like what ability and like what pirate hat he has, like, which I know is like stupid, but it's like is cool as shit. And you could say, hey, I rolled this and look, I got a captain's hat now and I'm wearing the thing and and it's just a cool thing instead of just getting handed a sheet of paper that has that on there.
Yeah.
So I think there's an interesting question here too. So if you're making pre-gens for a one shot, to what degree are you curating those characters? So like one of the risks you run if you're rolling, say you're rolling a Morkborg character at the table and your stats are -2, -1, -3, -2. Like, are you going to have a good time with that character, or is the DM going to step in and say, "Well, trash that guy"? And I mean, some people will actually have.
I'm
going to
have a blast
playing
with
it.
that character.
Yeah, some people will absolutely, but a lot of people are going to say
because that's
well,
Freddy Four Fingers.
well, yeah,
You know.
it's but so I think there's so part of it is like if you're not playing a power gaming kind of system where it doesn't matter as much. But I do think there's people that don't play a lot of RPGs outside of conventions. And so they're doing the math of like, well, I paid X dollars to come and play, and this is one of my 5 sessions, and I have this loser character that's not going to accomplish anything, and that's not fun for me.
Yeah.
So because I've played, I play a lot of DCC at cons, and I've had judges say, "Yep, I 3d6 down the line this guy," and some of them have miserable stats, and I've had others that have obviously been curated, and I go back and forth with that a lot, about what does that look like. I don't know what you guys' thoughts are on curating the pre-gens.
To me, most of the time it does not matter. The only stat that matters to me is intelligence. I can be the weakest guy in the party. That's fine. I'll figure out, if my sword's not going to do any damage, I'll shoot with my bow. I made a character for a game that Roger was running one time, and he's laughing because he knows exactly what I'm about to talk about.
The blacksmith, yeah.
Dude had a 5 intelligence, and if I don't want to play special ed, because to me, if you are that stupid, you cannot communicate effectively with anyone. He was I was standing there the whole time, going, "Look at the birds." And that's it was terrible, man. Every time the other 2 guys would they're going to talk about the plan, we're going to do this. Okay. Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. I blackjawed the whole time. Okay. And so, I just did whatever they told me to do because I wasn't capable of making my own decisions. And so I really dislike that. But really for the rest of it though, if he's not charismatic, I can come up with a reason why he's not charismatic and I don't care. If he's not strong, that's fine. If he's a little slow, that's fine. But man, I just, oh God, no.
We got a $10 buy-in to watch the game where Jason plays a guy with an intelligence of 3.
Yeah. I mean,
I was not having a good time. And that's one of the rare instances where I can look at a character and say, I have to change the stat. Please let me put it on wisdom or con. Even I'll have him. He could be asthmatic trying to run through the forest as long as I can think more than 5 seconds ahead.
Yeah,
that's just me. So
yeah, I'm gonna be the Pinko Kami and say I curate pretty heavily when I go to game. But like I said, I'm writing stories usually for one shots and not random stuff.
When you say you're curating, what does that mean? You're protecting the characters and making sure they're playable? Is that what you mean?
He's picking and choosing.
Okay.
Cool. If I roll stats, I would dump the guy that has a -3 in everything, right?
Okay, cool.
Or maybe I would leave one guy in that is like that, so that if Roger wants to play Freddy Four Fingers, he can show up and do that, right? But I'm definitely going to have some characters that somebody that is new to gaming and wants to get excited at the table is going to pick up and go, "That's neat. I really think these 2 things could make an interesting way to play together." So
especially if you're dealing with, I think it depends too, if you're dealing with it's new players or old, seasoned players. So I ran a one shot for a bunch of guys that I ran games with. We were running West Marches at the store at the Crossroads, and one of the deals was at the end, all the GMs ran games for each of the GMs. So I ran a one shot. It was tied into my campaign, and my son played in it with his character and stuff. But I made just random pre-gens, and these guys are all guys that they're all great, right? So I just handed them. I mean, I made decent characters, and I think I'm with Ken. I'm going to make good characters. But those guys, they could have taken anything I gave them. I gave them the characters in 2 lines of a backstory for each character. and they were like off to the races, to the point where my son had never played with any of them before. And after the session, the first thing he said to me, he was like, we weren't 5 minutes into the game and they were already role playing
Mhm.
heavily. I knew I was with rock stars. And I was like, yeah, you can ask for a better table than that. And they could have played anything. But if I'm going to like run at the con or even the game store, like a one shot or something, I'm probably going to make characters that are decent, good characters. Like they're not going to be like, I think it's harder for, especially a new player, to like play a deficit, where
Yeah.
they can play a hero, right? That can easily be imagined. But I think it's harder to play a deficit. And you want to, you don't want to be like, well, this character's a pain in the ass to play, especially for somebody new, because it's not really getting them to come in. They're like, if it's a pain in the ass, they're not going to do it. And
Yeah.
so I think I'm with Ken. I'm more aligned with Ken. I would probably heavily curate it, and then also I can tailor those characters. So what we talked about earlier, you want things done in the game, as far as like, we got to get in this door, or we got to track this guy to this cave. Well, I probably ought to make a ranger that is in there that somebody's going to want to play because they're going to need them. And stuff like that, just to make it so it helps facilitate the game. I guess I am steering it, but like I'm giving them the tools to
Yeah.
accomplish what we're setting out to do.
Yeah.
Because if I give them some village idiot, but then you get the right player. Like I was playing in a AD&D game at ShireCon, my first ShireCon, and I knew it was going to be a good game with a guy sitting next to me. The first question he asked the table was, how sensitive are we? And we were all like, we're not. And he was like, okay, my character basically acts retarded, because he was trying to do it to avoid getting attacked by bandits. He was like, oh, that guy, he's not a threat. He's just mental. We don't need to worry about him. So you got a good table. They'll be able to come up with interesting ways to play your characters.
Yeah, and I can see like curating guys, especially in like a D20 system or whatever, and not having people roll up, things that are bad. I mean, I could see curating that, but I also see the fun of playing, guy like we played in a Vast Grim game somewhere. I don't remember. I don't remember if Jason had a good time in that one. That was one of the ones I think that you didn't like, maybe. But I played a guy that didn't have middle fingers. Middle fingers were cut off, and he had like some low stats. I mean, it was fun. That was the space.
It's like Morkborg in space.
Yeah, Morkborg in space.
I have something about Vast Grim.
I don't remember it, so that should answer that question.
Yeah, I want to talk about something about that later. That was kind of in my notes, but yeah. So the last time I ran Mothership at Mepicon, I have this, like, I made a bunch of characters with the app, and most of them I liked. There are a couple I threw out, but Mothership is fairly, the range of like how good you are in Mothership is a lot less than like a D20 fantasy system.
Yeah.
But I went back in for this time and fleshed out the weapons and equipment, kind of what you were saying, Ken and Ducato both, like, okay, so the doctor has just a scalpel, so all right, they're not gonna be very good in combat. What can I give them that's gonna be relevant to, say, like Epsilon 14? So like a scanner or like lab test equipment. There's things in that adventure where like those things are going to give that character a moment to shine. And so I wanted to make sure all the characters had, if this is a combat character, they should have combat stuff so they can shine at the thing that they're good at. If they're a scientist, they should have relevant science equipment that's going to be helpful in the mission that we're on, so they have moments to use that. Hey, wait a minute, I have this like mobile test kit. I can do this right here. Like So I did definitely go back and sort of flesh that out a little bit more, so that all the characters felt like they're going to have moments to shine. I've had the opposite of that too, where when I play DCC, a lot of times I'll play the cleric or the halfling, because if you don't have a cleric or halfling, the game's going to be you're playing it on hardcore mode. And I've had halflings where it's like, oh, the halfling that the judge brought has 5 luck, and it's like, cool, what am I, so like you're right. So I'm not a fan of that. Like when, Roger, when that Morkborg, I was like, I made 25 characters, and I divided them into 2 stacks, one that was good and one that was bad. And then we just rolled off And if you beat me in a roll, you got to pick from the good stack. And if you didn't, you had to pick from the bad stack. But the thing is, the bad stack characters were still very playable. It's just that they had maybe they only had 1 or 2 hit points. Right?
It didn't matter because I rolled like Jason that whole game. So
yeah, sure. Right. But so like, I think some systems, Morkborg can be fun to try to pilot like a 1 hit point character through a 1-shot and see if they live. But like, if you're giving somebody a halfling or like a wizard in DCC with a negative spell modifier, it's like, why are you doing that? Like, that's not going to be fun for that player at all.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That was this actually does have to do with 1-shots. That's one of the things that I like about Pirate Borg is if your character dies, there are 2 specific races, classes that you can only pick if you're a dead character.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's awesome. Oh, I'm sorry, dude, you lost your guy. Bing, you're back as this water zombie or whatever it was. So that guy can finish the game instead of being like, oh, I got to play for 45 minutes. I'll see you guys later. Pirate Borg's really cool, and that's one of the things I really like about it.
Yeah, Pirate Borg is a well-designed system.
And with Pirate Borg, like even if you didn't want to do that or whatever, like and it's kind of been mentioned, but like by the time even if your guy dies in the middle of combat, by the time it's your turn again, you can roll up a character.
Probably
because
true.
it takes 2 minutes.
Yeah, two minutes to roll it up. Yeah,
you're rolling 4 stats and on like 3 charts.
Yeah,
like that's it. Boom, boom, boom. You just do it, and it's easy.
Yeah. So I want to so sort of related to this. Something I want to bounce off you guys. So Jason, you were talking about playing a character with low intelligence. Like I've seen, I just at Gamehole Con, we had somebody played a character that had like a 4 or 5 intelligence, and he clearly was having a fairly good time doing it, knowing it was a 3-hour adventure. Like I can't imagine doing a campaign where you had to sort of just I'm with you. That would be infuriating. For a 1-shot, it might be kind of okay. I think so. I played a Vasgrim adventure that I had a lot of fun playing, but the character, and I picked. I've played Vasgrim and I've run it, so I let everybody else pick. I had the character that was left at the end, and it was a merc. And multiple places in the sheet, it was like you only care about yourself. All that matters is self-preservation. You'll sacrifice anything to keep yourself alive. Blah. So like, okay, that's fine. So the adventure starts and we're on the space station and we get attacked by the Grim, and there's this circular bar in the middle. And so some of the characters run to the front, they're fighting the Grim off, and they're hurting the people around the side to get out the back. So my character stands at the exit and is waving them around the circle because I don't care if they get off the space station. The more of them that die up front, it's more likely that I'm going to live. Okay, so that pissed a couple of the people off because they're like, why are you doing that? I'm like, well, that's what my character would do. That's what's on my sheet. And then similarly, like, wow, so when we're on the ship, like the bottom level of the ship, there's survivors down there, they get infected. I'm like, I'm going to seal off the elevator hatch and sabotage it. And what do I care? Now it's contained. Right. And so it's like, well, you're sacrificing all those. That's literally what. So, and I'm curious, like, to me, that's a curation thing. Like, because I felt like the GM was not super happy that stuff was happening. I'm like, you picked this character and gave it to me. Right.
Yeah.
So it's his fault.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, and I'm not breaking the adventure. Like we had a good time. Like, people that like most of the table found it hilarious. Right. Because it's like, I'm not making up something that's not on the sheet. I'm playing the character that you gave me. And this is a very the other thing is like, this is a very Vasgrim thing to do. Like that is very on brand for Vasgrim. Now, if you've only played 5e and every character you've ever played is a superhero, you're going to recoil in horror that this stuff is happening. But so, yeah, I don't know what your thoughts, like sort of what you said about as a game master, like if you're going to give somebody a character that's got a 5 intelligence or is like a chaotic, evil or whatever, like you better be prepared for what comes from that. If you're giving that to somebody, right?
Absolutely.
Roger and I went through, how I feel about it. Roger and I went through the same thing at PAX Unplugged when we were playing Blade Runner. And we've told this story before. He was being a giant douchebag. And I looked at him and I was like, what the hell are you doing, man? Because like I did, and Joe was also playing, and Joe was like, Roger, what's going on?
Because
he showed us
the
his
new
character
person
sheet.
was the synth,
And it
and
says
I'm like,
right
no, I'm
there
not
on the
going with
character
her.
yeah,
Mhm.
he's a cranky old man that doesn't trust sense and he doesn't like anybody. And I was like, you nailed it. Good to go. And after I saw it was on his character sheet, you do you, man. You're 100%. You're not being a jackass. Your
I've-
character is a jackass.
I've never asked this clarifying question. Were you playing with strangers?
Yes,
And were you being a jerk to the strangers?
he was being a jerk to everybody. Actually, I
Well,
take
his
that back.
character was
Yes.
as long as
It-
it's
no,
your character
he
being a
was-
jerk
I
to the other
think-
characters.
I
To-
think if it was me, I would have shown the character sheet first. But I mean, Roger, you do.
Yeah.
You.
No, but he wasn't being a jerk to the strangers. He was being a jerk to the one synth in the party, and
Who was
a
a
stranger.
stranger?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yes, so maybe he should have said, "Wow, my character's kind of an asshole to synths,
No,
just,
but I felt
incoming." But
I felt that I was being nice to them though, and like I think they knew it was my character.
oh yeah.
You know, like there was no confusion there. I think Ken is thinking like I was being a jerk to them, and like they didn't know.
I don't
Like-
know anything that makes Jason recoil. Like you're being. I'm having a hard time imagining
well, part
what
of it
was
was
happening at this table.
part of it was we were because I've talked about Blade Runner at length
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
I was so excited to sit there at that table and play Blade Runner. I wanted everything to go right. I wanted everyone to get along. I wanted everyone to.
Yeah.
I wanted everyone to be as absorbed in the game as I was. And so when Roger started doing that, I was like, he's going to drive people away from this game if he does this.
Mhm.
But seriously, the second he pointed to his sheet and I saw it and I was like, you
Oh,
nailed it.
okay.
And after that, man, I was cool. And the whole table, like it didn't bother anybody. Everything
That's
went
good.
great.
I think to the idea of like the 5 intelligence person that's at the table, I think if you were only speaking in character at the table, that's a very frustrating game. But I tend to tell people at the table that their character knows more than they do, and collectively we can come up together with something that sounds reasonable for their character if they are having a hard time with it. And so if you're playing the 5 intelligence character, I think I would be encouraging you to still speak your mind, but just let everyone know my character is not saying this, but you might have thought that this could happen if you were playing the smart character.
Yeah.
Which I know
think,
takes people out of the game sometimes, but
Yeah,
that's
but I mean,
my approach.
you played with me for 6 months now. You know how I
Yeah.
am. And I think Paul, I don't know if Paul's with us tonight, but Paul said it a couple of
He was
shows
here
ago.
earlier, yeah.
I should have known that Jason would be method, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm really sorry about that. Like again, it's caused some issues, and I've apologized previously for it. I am very method. So if you give me a character sheet and my guy's retarded, and I'm not going to be all disrespectful and exaggerated and all that.
Yeah,
but-
you're not doing full simple Jack, but
right.
I
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not trying to make it.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to make it offensive, but man, I'm going to play stupid, and I'm not going to be. You're not going to hear Jason's voice. You're going to hear Bart the blacksmith. That's what you're going to hear, and I can't. I don't use and we talked about all the stuff before. I don't use player knowledge for my character. My character, at the fact, complete opposite of that. In the campaign that Roger was running before we started doing CNC, I was playing a hyper intelligent wizard, like godlike intelligence when we finished it up. And there were times that I would have to look at Roger and be like, look, dude, I've got maybe a 13 intelligence. My character, Kevin, has a 26 intelligence. He understands what's going on here. And he would look at me and goes, that's right. Okay. Yeah. Here's what's going on. You know what's going on. So cool. Yeah. I can't do it, man.
Yeah, Matt, that was a good reference there. I think there's a movie that needs a remake, I think.
No, it doesn't need a remake. It just needs to be re-released in theaters.
Ducato brings up Crossroad Games. I don't think they actually have a website, but that's their Facebook thing. And if anybody's near Maine or whatever, I don't know if they actually have a web page. I know that goes to their thing. I just wanted to showcase them a little bit because you mentioned them, and I've been there. It's a great store. I think it's great if you're in the area. go there. Edgelord asked a little while ago about default character generation for D20 systems, 3d6 down the line, 4d6. I mean, I like 3d6 down the line, but none of my players seem to want to torture themselves. So, so I generally do 4d6, drop the lowest, and then either swap to or, place it where you want to. I mean, it's for a campaign. For a one shot, I would probably do 46, drop the lowest, do it in order. Maybe if somebody says, "Oh, I really want to play this," that's okay. Swap this and this or whatever. But for a campaign, I mean, obviously, I don't want somebody to get stuck with a simple jack for for a whole sessions and sessions.
Right?
Yeah, right. A year of like playing the guy or whatever. And I know the character that Jason had with a 5 intelligence, I think that was planned to just be a short thing, wasn't it? We were only going to do like 4 or 5 sessions or something like that, I think.
Yeah.
No, and that's long enough. I'm not saying. I just want to be clear. It's not like a year long thing.
Yeah, but not even that. I think we planned it for 4 or 5 sessions, and I think we did 3. Part of the reason that we ended it was because my character just went along with whatever the other 2 guys wanted, and the other 2 guys were sabotaging the game. Like blatantly sabotaging it.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there fuming, and I'm messaging Roger saying, "Man, I'm really sorry, dude."
Yeah.
And my character didn't have the mental fortitude to say, "No, this is a terrible idea. Let's not do this." Instead, he'd say, "Okay."
Yeah.
So
no, I get it.
Great time.
So how do you guys like rolling characters? Would you guys have a preferred method?
Yeah, we do the 46 down, not down, drop the lowest, and then I'm pretty lenient about. I have some players that they think they have to have like the top level of stats and stuff, and I'm like, you really don't. And especially it depends on the system, because like in like CNC, you get bonuses starting at like 13, so it's like you start to get a bonus, their argument is, well, you should be above average. I'm like, well, the average is 10. So if you're 13, you are above average.
Agreed.
So you get what you get. I typically play about average, although my NPCs I've rolled up lately have been awesome. I'm like, why can't I roll this when I'm rolling my character? Like, this sucks. But I do that. That's typically the one we use.
I'll lean to whatever the system I'm playing says. I tend to go through a lot of systems.
Same. Yeah.
So if the system recommends 3d6, I feel like that's a decision on the designer's part to get you invested in whatever theme that they're doing, right? But if it is a longer game and I'm playing a system that says, "Oh, just roll 3d6 down the line," I typically won't do that, only because I don't find that to be like a really interesting, I don't know, element of the game, right? There's a lot of interesting things that can happen in a game, but that's not one of them.
Edgelord clarified him. He means for campaign play.
Oh, for campaign play, yeah. I would be
not what this episode's about, and we don't do tangents, right, Ken?
Sorry. Hang on, I'll put myself in jail here.
No, you're
sorry.
You're
sorry
good.
about that. So anyway,
Wow.
He was ready for that.
For campaign play, I think you're just trapping yourself. Like, if I rolled 3d6 down the line and my guy had 5 intelligence and I just didn't want to do that, he would accidentally be charging the next ogre every time we saw an ogre. So
wouldn't
I
last
just
very
roll
long.
another guy.
Oh no, I
exactly
died.
what I did with the first
Roll another
Baldur's
one now.
Gate. Of just hit reroll.
Yeah.
Right.
And
so
and,
that's my
I think it was Matt that was talking. If all you've ever played is 5e, you're gonna be you're used to playing superheroes, and and the same was true with 3.5. I don't want my stats to be 18 down the line. In fact, when I used to DM, I would always tell my players whenever we were starting something new, I would straight up tell them, make up your stats. I don't care what they are. But keep in mind, if you're running around with all 18s, all of the ogres in the game are going to be using steroids. I'm gonna make the monsters rise to the challenge so that you have a challenge. So I don't need all of my stats to be 18, but Ducato said that the argument is, well, your guys should be above average. I completely agree with that. Below average people never amount to anything unless they're politicians. A fighter who can't swing a sword quickly or can't raise his shield quickly enough is going to die. He's cannon fodder. That's where that term comes from. Oh, this guy can't do anything. Put him in the front line. He'll absorb a bullet and we'll be good to go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The 300, the Battle of Thermopylae, those were elite. That's why they lasted as long as they did. If they had been Joe the average swordsman, they would not have lasted. They would have crumbled immediately. And and the same goes with a wizard. Why would you play a wizard with a 7 intelligence? You can never amount to anything in the world of wizarding. A cleric can't communicate with this god if he doesn't have the wisdom to do it. And so I don't want to see characters that are subpar, just because for me it's a chore to play them, and that's not why I play. But at the same time, like I said, not every dude has to be like, I'm here to smash. That you don't have to play a fighter with an 18 strength. He can have a lower strength that uses a different fighting style. Yeah, I'm trying to cut my answers down. Last week I talked about Blacklight for 45 minutes, so I'm trying not to do that.
No, that was good. I think you sold. I think you doubled the number of.
I sold a few copies. That's wonderful.
Yeah. So I think I'm probably similar to Ken. I think I just follow what the system recommends. I mean, I think it's good that a lot of systems now have starting arrays or point buys as an alternative to random generation, because people have different objectives, right? Like I am pretty happy to play almost any character. I don't love thieves that much, but like most character classes, I'm fine playing whatever. So if it's just rolling down the line and I'm okay to roll my stats and then commit to the class that I am based on where my stats are, like I don't care. It doesn't matter because I'll play whatever. People who come to the table and say, maybe I want to be a ranger that has high intelligence, or I don't want to play, like an array or point buy that means you're never going to have a bad ranger, like probably is helpful there. So, I think it's cool when a system has those options so that it kind of meets the need and meets the player, at what they want and what they're looking for. And I think a lot of systems do that now. So I think it's sort of just like, are you able to offer the player a way to get to the character that's going to let them have fun in the game, without giving them some overpowered, thing that makes it too easy to juice up their stats.
I've always disliked point buy. I've never been at a table where at least one, usually two of the players didn't min max using point buy.
Yeah.
And that just, it just bugs me. And I realize that kind of counters what I just said, and I get that, but there's a difference between rolling 46, re-roll once, 46, drop the lowest, whatever, versus 18 strength, 16 constitution, 16 dex, 5 intelligence, wisdom, charisma. Yeah,
right.
Just and everybody wants to say, no, I don't play like that. Man, a lot of people play like that.
They do. And then that's why I like doing the random rolls and then allowing people to like switch, like switch 2 stats or swap 2 of them. Like, cause then they can kind of pick, but it's also quasi random. I've never liked point buy, just for that reason, where it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to play the fighter, guy. And that's like, I'm going to build him to be perfect at doing this one thing. And that, that's what he's going to do or whatever.
Yeah.
I just never like that.
I just view it as a time saver, right? So like Delta Green has a point buy, and, if you want to play a doctor and you roll up your stats and you can't get your stats you're rolling are someone that would fail out of med school. Yeah. Like, I mean, what are you just going to keep rolling characters till you get one that meets? So,
I get it.
I'm not in love with it either. I think generally like the random rolls make characters that are more interesting and unique and different, and have sometimes that's the only way to get someone that has a lot of great stats. So I do get that, but I think it's a good option for certain kind of players that really come in like, I know exactly who I want to play, and this is now whether that's the kind of person you want to play with or not, or that's right for the game you're playing is certainly a valid conversation. But especially for a one shot, if you're going to be making characters, you don't want to have somebody that's like, well, let me roll up my fourth character just so I can get a cleric that's got, you know, a workable stat that lets me function.
Yeah.
So
The Worlds Without Numbers, which is I always go back to the Crawford stuff, but they do, I think they do 3d6 down the line, and then one of your stats becomes a 14, and you pick which one.
Okay,
So that
right. Yeah.
If you need the ranger with the intelligence, you just go, that's the 14 right there. That's the only time I've done 3d6 down the line is if I know, okay, the player can then, you know,
Yeah,
if they have
makes
something
sense.
really important, they can go and
Yeah.
assign it.
And some of the like I know like Axe, Adventure Conquer King, like they do like you pick your class, and then when you roll like the fighter, or I think you could pick what stats, but like for like you get one stat that's 5d6, and you take the three highest.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then two stats I think that are 4d6, you know, take the three highest, and then the rest are like 3d6, like things like that. And I don't know if it's in just like the dwarf book or like something like that, but I think they get like it's like 2d6 plus 6 for a constitution or something like that. So like they get like the one stat that like can, you know, that's going to be higher than everybody else. So but like the 5d6 and you know drop the two lowest, like that could, I mean, that could still be horrible. You know, I mean, I could see Jason rolling 5d6 and
Oh, cut up to 7.
you know,
Yeah.
and still getting a 5, you know,
Yep.
like easily.
It has
Yeah, I
happened
know.
before.
I know.
I think thinking about it, if you're going to roll at the table and you have some options, array might be the best way to go about it.
Yeah.
So
sure.
that they're not min-maxing completely, but they're
Mhm.
also, not only are you
Yeah.
like making sure they're not really bad, you also are saving a little bit of time with the rolling, adding, writing, assigning.
Yeah. And talking
Yeah,
about one
so-
shots,
yeah.
I think that's fine for a one shot.
Yeah, and actually, yeah, I think that's what Delta Green has an array. I don't think it has a point, but I think it has an array. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I think that works for a one shot. I don't know. I like the randomness. I mean, I love chaos and like randomness. So like the more dice that can be rolled, like that's the way that I want to default to, you know, automatically, just because that's, you know, that's just me. But you know, I some people like Jason can't roll dice, so and get higher than like
I've got a
3
great hobby
on
for
any
someone
die,
that can't
you know?
roll dice.
So yeah,
Mm,
it's interesting.
right there with you.
But so yeah, what do we I think we can move on to prep. I mean, we kind of covered some of that anyway, but prep for one shots. I know George always has minis and a playmat and like all of his, like everything's got a character and everything line, you know, he's got everything all set up and ready to go. I played with George, we did a Pendragon game, and the guy had like
So
the cloth
jealous.
map, the cloth map that was down, and painted night minis where we, you know, were positioning on the map and all that stuff. And I mean, that was pretty cool. And I think that's fine if you're going to run, you know, like we talked before, if you're going to run the same adventure, the same module several
Yeah,
times,
true.
you can kind of go and say, hey, I want to get this mini and stuff. And I don't remember when it was, but I remember somebody had asked at some point, I don't remember if it was I think it was on the convention page, where somebody was asking somebody about running different games. And they were like, wow, how can you run like 3 different modules or whatever? And, you know, and like be able to afford like, you know, all the minis and the terrain and like all this stuff. And I mean, I kind of almost like laughed at it because I was like, geez, man, like I got like the flat tokens and like I got a Sharpie. I'll draw stuff out on like index cards or something, or put locations down and throw that on the table like half the time. and it works, and it works fine. And so I've got like $10 into running a one shot, Matt, I know you had some nice, the Dragonbane maps. I think they were off scale a little bit, right? But you had them like print, color and laminated and everything. I think, right?
For I think it was for the Sinking Tower. I've done that for a few games. I've like Last Things Last, the Delta Green starter adventure. I have like some, they're like the staples, like laminated poster board. It's like easy to plop down on the table, and it's always going to be flat, and it's hard to damage. When they run sales on that stuff, I've occasionally like printed up some things if it's something I think I'm going to run a bunch of times. But I don't run a lot of games that are like I'm not running Pathfinder 2e. Like I don't need tactical grids or anything like that. It's usually more just for like spatial awareness. I've actually gotten away a lot of times from even having minis. It's just kind of like, hey, I want you to see the terrain or the makeup of where you are, just because some people are very good at mapping out spaces in their mind, and some people like literally can't do that at all. And so just to avoid that conversation at the table of like, where am I again? Or how big is this room? Or what does this look like? Like having some kind of visual indication is helpful. But I'm generally avoiding games where I would need to bring minis or haul. And to your point, if I'm running 5, 6, 7 games, and I'm running all different stuff, I'm not running the same thing 5 times. I'm not going to bring, all that stuff for all those different games. It's just not.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And I've always tend to see like a lot of the theater of the mind stuff, or especially for a con game, like, in my mind, it's like the old turn-based combat video games, right? We've got the row of heroes, and then facing you is like the row of bad guys. Then it's like, okay, the bad guy's just gonna like randomly like smack one of the heroes. You know what I mean? Nobody's like directly like engaged, or it's all kind of just happening, And then you kind of sort it out from there and say, okay, this guy's fighting with this guy or whatever, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean,
and that seems to work. I think,
like I appreciate Dwarven Forge and all as much as the next person. Like if I show up to a game and someone has all that stuff, I'm beyond like excited for it and stoked to see that stuff. I just personally have no artistic talent whatsoever. I can't draw or paint a lick at all. So I'm not gonna, so that's not the experience I'm usually gonna provide, because it's just not in my wheelhouse. If it was, I would, but it's just not something I do.
Yeah. Shout out to Ducato, who does some fantastic stuff. I don't know if you guys have seen his videos on some of the prep and stuff that he does, but you just did the layer of the spider
the
queen or whatever it was.
Yep.
And oh my God, just the whole layout that you had going, fantastic. Just awesome stuff, really. With minis,
Thanks.
Everything's painted and gorgeous. I mean, you make us all look bad with that stuff.
It is a lot of work though. Like I mean, I guess it's a labor of love too. If I didn't like doing it, I wouldn't do it. But there are times like when those big tables like that don't happen every game, but
sure.
But like we do our annual, they happen a few times a year, and then we'll do our annual gaming weekend, and that's a logistic thing, like because we're going away for like 3-4 days, and I'll usually have multiple tables to build, and I always say, because my car will be freighted with stuff, and if I have to make multiple trips to the camp or wherever we're playing, and I'm always like, theater of the mind might not be a bad way to go.
Yeah.
Drag around. But it's it's fun. I like both, and I'm the same way as like Matt. Like I can show up to anybody's game, and I've had this come up before actually, because I've done like some seminars and stuff on how to DM, and I'm known as the miniatures and terrain guy just because I use a lot of that. And I've had my son's even asked me, like when he first started DMing, he's like, oh, he's running a module. He's like, I don't know how I'm going to build this whole thing. And I'm like, no, you're not gonna, don't do it. And I've seen a lot of people be like, oh, well, I don't know, like, how would I get all this stuff? And I'm like, well, this didn't happen overnight. Like, this is 10+ years of like mental derangement collecting, like like
Yeah.
overboard collecting.
And-
It's a
Yeah.
problem.
And that's one of the
But,
reasons
like, I can
why
show up to
I don't like
anybody's
to get a
game,
lot
and
of-
I don't care what they use. I'm like,
Mhm.
like for me, when
Yeah.
I run my games, I hate using proxies. Like, I want the miniature there. I want the representation. But if I showed up to anybody's game and they threw an M&M on the table, I'm like, cool. I hope I get to eat it at the end.
Yeah.
You know, I don't. It doesn't bother me. I don't care. But for my own games, I want to do this because part of it for me, that is the presentation of it. That's part of the juice for me.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
when I either put a board down or I pull back the sheet that's covering everything, and the game comes to a stop because my guys bust out their phones so they can take pictures of all that stuff. I'm like, that's part of the reward, right? So
Yeah.
I appreciate that stuff, and the fact that they appreciate it is means a lot to me. So, but yeah, I don't know how. I've never run at a convention. I have this idea to run in a convention, and I do want to use that because that's one of the things I'm good at. And I've thought about like building something just like specifically for this adventure, so I could do that thing where, oh, I've run this thing 5-6 times. I know exactly what. Because sometimes that's a pain in the ass because I have a lot of Dwarven Forge, but like recreating what I built, that's sometimes hard to do because it's like, how the hell did this go together? It never
Mhm.
fits. It's like folding a map, right? It never goes
Yeah.
back the way you unfolded it. So I'm like, what if I built like a set piece and then just ran an adventure through that and just kept running it? Like every year at the con, I run this adventure or whatever. I've thought about that.
Yeah.
About that.
For me, like, I mean, in my home games, like I'll pull out like I have the Tom Cardhouse map books. I'll try and use those when I can, which is not nearly as often as I should. But I generally just have the battle maps down, and I just jot on them, with dry erase, just because I don't want to like stop the game to like pull out stuff or whatever. But especially like one shots and stuff, like even though like there's more prep and you can have stuff. I don't know. I've always been of the mindset to use like as little as possible to run the stuff. And I think like a lot of people coming into the hobby that are new, like they came in, especially a handful of years ago, like they've come in because of like things like Critical Role and whatnot.
Yeah.
And they look at this high production value thing. And like you said, Decado, it's like they come in and they're like, wow, I got to spend $150 on books. Plus, I got to buy dice. And then on top of that, like thousands of dollars on minis and one-time use, terrain pieces and all of that stuff. So like what you said, like I want people to show up to the table. I want to hand them an index card that I jotted some things down with a Sharpie and have some M&Ms and some buttons and dice, like marking things on the table and run things like that and try and have people have, and maybe you don't get the visual thing. And that's a big thing for some people, but I think that shows people like, oh, hey, I can run this game without even having $150 in books, like let alone the terrain and the minis and everything else. I give people a free set of, dice or whatever. And I say, listen, set your D4 out. That's your character. You know what I mean? And maybe I'll have minis or a little tokens with something drawn on it.
Yeah, I think it works. I think that's very valid. Very valid. I think on the other
not
end,
to
too,
diminish
like,
your gorgeous stuff, obviously.
no, not at all. Because I agree with you. Like it shows. I don't want it to be a barrier to entry, right? So
Yeah, right.
But on the other hand, like if you, the reason, and I got into really doing miniatures and terrain was because of my son. Because when he started gaming, he was young, like he wasn't even a teenager, and he would come in and watch us play, and he was just interested. And I ran like the first adventure in the 1E Pathfinder beginner box set. It was great. He had a great time. But he liked. I had nothing. Like I just had a handful of miniatures and some scatter terrain, but he liked that stuff, and I knew I was competing with video games, so I have to make this immersive as possible. So we did a ton of role playing. Like he was a really good role player from a very early age, but I got more and more into miniatures and terrain because he liked that stuff and it was very tactile. So I think it can help keep the attention to the table.
Sure.
People are like, oh, holy crap. Or I can definitely see like, oh, this character's here and that character's there. And it goes either way, I think. But
Yeah.
I definitely don't want it to be a barrier to entry for anybody because you don't need any of it. And I've said that in videos, in some of my videos, I'll do a recap on the terrain if it's a big spread. And I'm like, you don't need this stuff. Like I just do it because it's my hobby, right? So it's like I don't really go out to bars and do any of that stuff. So I spend money on
Yeah.
this stuff.
Right,
And
absolutely. And we're older, we
Yes.
got decent jobs, and like we can afford to like splurge maybe a little bit on some of the
Yeah.
our hobbies,
I mean,
You're not going to bars.
it can be a
lot of money.
an enhancer, to your game.
Yeah,
And
I'm
it
definitely not going to the
can be a
bars.
detractor if you don't do it right. Yeah. If you
Yeah.
don't do it right, it can be a detractor. So
I think for people coming over from, at least this has been some of my experience, bringing people over that are board gamers to try role playing, having something tangible like that really helps represent,
Sure.
because it is kind of like a game piece, right? Like this is
yeah.
this mini represents you. This is where you are spatially on the board. These are the, I think that's a helpful bridge.
Yeah.
But I do think it's good to call out, like, that is the range of this hobby, right? Where you can say, yeah, you buy this Mothership box set and it's $60. You could play just this for 2 years and never have to spend a cent on anything else. Or you can get the Sci-Fi Dwarven Forge and have, make the spaceship like come to life if you want. And there's no pay to win in this hobby. It's just a different type of the same experience.
Sure.
Which I think is like, it's a differentiating thing between this and a lot of other hobbies.
Yeah.
So, but you're right. Like I bought somebody's Dwarven Forge collection and I've used it a few times to do, like Dragon Maiden one shots that I can convert, spatially into. And yeah, I mean, when people show up and they're not used to seeing that stuff and you're like, hey, yeah, you walk in the room and the fires turn and you flick the thing and it lights up. It's like,
Yeah.
it is pretty awesome to get that.
It
Like,
is
whoa.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty neat. I'd be
Yeah.
lying if I said that wasn't,
Yeah.
a pretty cool thing.
Yeah.
So
No, it definitely is. It definitely is cool. I just, and there's like a line there somewhere, right? And I just want people to know that, like, you don't need all that stuff,
mhm.
Yeah,
and
absolutely
and
not.
I've
You
I've
don't.
had the same conversation with people, like not gaming related. Can throw up that tangent thing, but the with people like blue collar workers and like getting into the construction trades and stuff. I've had people tell me that they can't afford to get into the trades because they can't afford like all these tools and like everything else. And I'm like, yeah, like I'm a tool snob. I buy expensive tools, but you don't need expensive tools to do the job.
When I started
Like, and it's the
construction, I
same
had
thing, like-
a 22-ounce hammer and a cordless drill. That was the extent of my tools.
Yeah. And that's the same thing like with that is gaming. Like I want people to know that you don't need all this stuff,
Yeah.
to play the game. You don't even need, like 5e, like I think, or 2024 or whatever it is. Like the Buried or Edge, what are the books $60 now? And there's
Yeah.
3 of them.
Yeah,
There's
I
3
mean,
of
what
them? So it's
what's interesting-
$180 plus
Yeah.
everybody's got to have
The
$60.
one, but yeah.
What's interesting about that is really they actually made 2 really good box sets. Kind of lost in like everything else that Wizards has done horrifically wrong over the last few years is they actually made, because they made 2 different the Lost Mines everybody thought was pretty good for a starting adventure.
Yeah,
They did
fun.
that.
I played
Yeah,
that.
they did that Essentials box set, and then they did a second starter set that I think universally people didn't think was very good.
Yeah.
But they have that Welcome to Hellfire Club, and they also have the 2024, which is like a Borderlands kind of redo, and they're both. They're not the the old WotC box sets for 5e weigh all of like two feathers or whatever. You open it up, there's barely anything inside. These 2 are like packed with stuff.
Yeah, they're pretty beefy. I've seen them in the
cool.
shop. They're pretty beefy.
Yeah,
I was
so
surprised how big they were.
yeah, they've definitely stepped up their game. I mean, it's still the same system and it has all the same issues that make it something that's not high on top of my list. But I will say they at least exactly what you're saying. You could buy either of those box sets and probably play them for a year and not spend a cent on anything
Yeah.
else and not have to buy the full hardcovers.
You definitely you don't. Yeah, that's the key thing, right? You don't need to buy the books. Now, I think I haven't seen the 2024 sets. I considered buying the Stranger Things one. Because I'm an Eddie Munson fan, and
It's heavy.
you know, but I'm interested in getting it and taking a look at it. I wouldn't run 2024. I mean, I would run it in something else if it was there. But yeah, it's important. There's a lot of box sets that have all the Free League box sets. I mean, that's something to say too.
Dragonbane box sets.
The
awesome.
Dragonbane box set, and I keep saying starter set when I say that. And
Yeah,
you know,
a lot of
and
people
it's
do,
not
but it's
a
not.
starter set. It's
So
not a starter
whole
set. It has the
campaign.
full core book in it and everything. And what is it, $30, $40?
It's like
you get
$50,
$30 on-
but it's on sale all the
You can get-
time. Yeah.
You can
Okay.
get it on Amazon for $32.
Yeah.
That's
I've
awesome.
been. It's probably the best bargain in.
I was
RPGs.
telling, well, Roger and Ken, I think it was the last stream. It was right before Christmas. I had a friend of mine. She reached out to me while I was on the stream, actually, because her son wants to get into D&D, and she was looking for advice. And I was like, I don't really recommend the official system, but I would buy the Dragonbane box set, because it's a complete game, complete campaign. Everything you need is in that box, and it's one of
Yeah.
the best values in role-playing games you can get right now. Like, it's awesome. And so
Yeah.
I don't know if she got it or not. I got to reach out to her and see if she got it.
Yeah, Matt, you're pulling some stuff up from the box set.
Well,
or-
this is that's the Hellfire Club one you were
Yeah.
talking about. But like, so I mean, you can see it's thicker than the old
Yeah.
5e ones
Yeah.
are, and it goes right into like read me first, and it has all this
Nice.
tangible stuff in here. But they've like color coded all the stuff like the old, right? So it's
that looks awesome. Man,
yeah.
put those up again. That
yeah,
looks
it's
cool.
thematically designed to look like
Oh,
the
man.
old
Oh, it does look like the old stuff. That was
but like
smart.
Yeah.
but there's all kinds of stuff in here. There's like it's just chock full of like maps and multiple maps, and look at it's like the old school looking character
Oh
sheets.
man.
Jeez.
So that's what
If
I'm
I
saying.
don't,
Yeah,
I
go
might
ahead.
have recommended that. I would have might have recommended that one if I'd known what was in it.
Yeah, I mean
God
this
damn you,
just
Matt.
came
Wow.
out. I mean this just came out pretty recently, but
Yeah,
and then,
it
I mean,
did.
look,
I'm
I
just
haven't
ordering one right now.
I haven't cracked these open yet, but like it's just it's full of cards. I mean,
gotcha.
like they really have made
That's
this.
how they get you.
It's
Nope.
really
They got
there's
you.
a combat tracker pad. Like this is definitely a much better product than
Yeah.
the junk that was coming out for the previous sets.
Well, I'm
Um,
excited
think-
they had to step up their game, but it is a little, I guess, too little, too late.
Too late.
Uh,
Yeah.
For me, it is far too late.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
in-
I'll wait
zero
for
interest. I don't care
sixth
what
they
it
have
edition, I
is.
guess.
these black and white
Jeez.
pawns.
I mean, it looks great. It looks great.
There's a GM screen,
yeah.
and this is on sale for $40. Like, so that's what I mean. Like, if you're trying to get into the hobby, and let's
Mhm.
be honest, like D&D is 99% of the hobby, right? If someone is buying this product, like they are going to get their money's worth out of it and be able to play it a long time before they have to touch any of those hardcover books. So,
Yeah. Edgelord says, just remember, guys, it's 5e, but it's not 5e, it's 2024,
yeah.
but it's easily convertible,
Yeah.
convertible. So there's a couple of things I pinned here. One, the Lost Mines of Phandelver. I heard that was decent. I haven't played it. I looked at it. It seemed okay. I never ran it.
It was fun. That guy posting is my buddy Matt. He ran it. I played in it. We had a blast. It was a good adventure.
Nice.
The original
Yeah,
one, I don't know what they did. They got lazy with the re-release, but
It's
added
like arguably one of the few good 5e adventures before they
Yep.
made everything these bloated 250-page railroad hardbacks. So,
Yeah, that's true. Mr. Goats is what are some juicy one-shot ideas for D&D? I don't know exactly what you mean by juicy. So
The world is your oyster. I mean, as with most RPGs, there are as many amazing one-shot ideas as there are I don't know, sessions
Yeah.
you will sit down to play, right?
Yeah.
So
I think one of the things is when you're looking at one shots, try and find some that aren't like a direct railroad. Like
Yep.
that's not just goes from A to B to C to D to E, right? You want to start at A and then have choice to go to B, C, or D or whatever, and then kind of spider web your way around
mhm.
where you want to go. I think that's like important, when you're looking at things like that. Um, I don't know, like specifically for D&D. I guess clarify that in the chat if you can, if you're looking for specifically like D&D or just in general, because I think there's a lot of great stuff out there for Mothership and for Dragonbane and all that stuff, So, I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that stuff.
It
Juicy,
just really depends on what you want to do. Like, I did a Halloween one shot for my players one time, and it was tied into, a campaign, but they played like third level characters, and they just started. I wanted to do a Halloween, and I always had this idea of like the old zombie apocalypse movies where you get into some sort of structure and the horde's coming and you got to defend the structure, right? So I wanted to do that. So I built out a big board for it with an inn in the middle of nowhere, and they get there and there's a storm, and one guy goes out to close the barn door because they can hear it, and he comes back a few minutes later and he's like, oh, the dead are walking and all this stuff, and they were like, oh, okay. And then I took about 5 minutes or so and laid down every zombie miniature that I possessed on the table, and they were just looking at me. And one of my players was like, we're third level, right? And I'm like, yeah, but I don't care. Like, it's the best. There was a 5e game, so one of the things I learned early on about 5e to make it fun was to completely ignore CR because it's a stupid rule
Yeah.
yeah,
and poorly done
Yeah.
in that game. So yeah, and we had a great time. Like they had a few minutes to fortify the inn, and they battled it out, and it was great. But I mean, I wanted to do that. That was the theme of it. I wanted to do a horror style zombie apocalypse one shot.
I think the juiciest ideas for D&D specifically are going to be themed around fights, because that's the thing D&D does. Fifth edition is
Yeah.
just a combat game, right?
Pretty much.
But it's also sort of that gamist character creation approach kind of game where you want to have the coolest set of interacting combos and abilities. So if I'm designing a 5e or other, I guess 2024 D&D one shot, I'd recommend you ask your players what character, class, and level they've always wanted to try, and design an adventure around that, and then also give yourself the monsters you've always wanted to run, and just somehow make those work together so that they fight those in the middle or at the end, and find a cool sword along the way or something. There's not a whole lot going on with the 5e one shot, I think. So just have the most fun you can have with 5e in it.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of adventures fall into a few different sort of standard archetypes, right? There's like the village with a problem. There's like the missing family member. There's the dungeon you have to clear for whatever reason. There's the haunted house or the murder mansion kind of. There's like all these sort of standard.
Yeah.
I think similar to movies, when you're talking about one shots, a lot of the time, like what makes a movie differentiate itself, if you think about like the good Marvel movies or a good horror movie, is the villain. And do they have a cool motivation? Do they have something different and interesting that stands out about them? And so sometimes I think that's what you want to work backwards from, is like, what is the interesting enemy or end boss? What's their motivation? And how can I make this interesting for the players to unravel what's happening? And then you can always play around with that, where you the quest giver ends up being the bad guy, and they realize that halfway through, and then like there's ways to play around with that to make that interesting. That Vaults of Varn adventure that I wrote that Jason and Roger played, there's a missing person and there's a monster at the end, but there's different points that you can go to, and there's basically factions that have certain people at different points that they like and ones that they don't like, and you can decide who to ally with. You could kill everybody at every location if you want to, or you could play all the sides against each other. It doesn't matter. So but it's like unraveling, like, what is this monster at the end? And then, if you just fight it head on, it's going to be a hard fight, but it's winnable. But you can make it a much easier fight by making some allies along the way and bringing them along. So, I guess that's kind of how I think about that stuff, is like, when people leave the table, like, what is the story that they're going to have to tell, and what made this different than all the other versions of D&D or whatever that they've played before? Is it some weird character? Is it certain moments that are going to come out because you've put some random weirdo in this place that is memorable? Or is it that the final fight or the enemy has some, the big bad has something unique about them that's memorable?
Yeah. And I think that's an important tip for running one shots when you do something like, if the players want to do something memorable or like something that's maybe over the top or whatever, just let them do it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Let them have that moment, because like, what are you going to do? It's not going to, you're not going to break the game.
I think that's a really important thing that I feel like I had to learn sort of early on as I'm, starting to run games, is like, the players haven't read the adventure. Like, they don't know what's supposed to happen. Only you know that. Right. So if they want to do something that maybe breaks part of the adventure, go with it in the moment. And then if you need to say, hey, let's take a 10-minute bio break so you can sort of like figure out how to get things back then that's fine. They don't know, the players don't know that that's what's happening. And so, you really want to, especially for a one shot, like, you really want to lean in on those moments, because they can be. I played a Dungeons and Drafts at a bar with some friends, and it was 5e, and I just go because it's a way to get some of those people to role play that don't normally role play. And it was like a standard haunted mansion kind of thing. There was a quest giver. I may have told you guys this before, but there's a quest giver, and it was like a kid, and there's a kid running this town shop. So I'm like, well, why are you running the shop? Well, my dad's missing. What do you mean your dad's missing? Well, he went in the swamp last week and never came back. I'm like, well, we got to find this kid's dad. And he's like, well, really, you need to go to this haunted house. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, we really want to go to the swamp and find this kid's dad. And to the guy's credit, he was like, all right, I'll tell you what, give me 5 minutes and then we can go to the swamp. And like, honestly, it was, I've done probably 10 or 12 of those. That is one of the only ones that I could tell you exactly what happened, because it was so cool that he was like, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to roll with it. And we went and did a half-hour thing. We fought a monster and saved the kid's dad and brought him back. And then we got to do an abbreviated version of the haunted house. So yeah, to be able to roll with that is definitely a good.
And you made it a haunted house.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it didn't just become a haunted swamp, because I think that's what I wrote it down.
Yeah.
That kind of goes back to
adventure.
One of the previous topics we were talking about, the adventure started behind a locked door. If you don't want me to go investigate the swamp, don't have a kid tell me that his dad's missing. You went to the swamp. I'm an adventurer. I'm going to go into the swamp.
Right. So, at that point, you tell them the kid's father went to this haunted house and disappeared.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Sure.
But I've said this before, right? And I know, Jason, you thought it was funny, but like, there's one of the reasons I like playing with you guys is that you've run games, you've been playing games for a long time. You would pick up on that immediately, right? I think a lot of people are not going to ask the question like, "Where's your dad?" Because they're just not. It's just whatever. That's just what is.
Why is this 8-year-old selling me rope?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. So, I think it's a lot of fun to run games at a con, and you have a table of like forever GMs. To me, those games end up being the most fun, because they're the most creative players. They're the most out of the box problem solving. Like I find that to be like endlessly entertaining.
That's a good lesson too, though. Like on, setup, like don't throw that hook out if you're not prepared. Like, and that can run. I've had that like with the best campaign I ever ran. I learned that lesson the hard way several times because I would just throw stuff out as like not like filler, but like trying to like fill out the setting of what's going on, and my guys would be like, "What was that?" And then all of a sudden, that is all they cared about, and I was like, "Oh,
Mhm.
well, here we go." And so then what I did was I would still throw that stuff out, but there would be like stuff fleshed out behind it. So I didn't have to make it up on the spot. I'd be like, if they ask
Yeah.
about this, is this, and this. And this is, and I learned over time how much information I would need to get me by to, if I couldn't get them back on track. But yeah, I think that's just, yeah, it would have been the Haunted Swamp
You were
with that. for sure.
you were talking, or you asked earlier about prep, and I wanted to throw in some thoughts on prep real quick, if that's all right.
Yeah, sure.
Um,
What do you, on topic?
on topic. I mean,
What
one
is that?
topic ago, but yeah, on topic.
No, yeah,
Um,
go ahead.
So with any one shot, there's like a bare necessity amount of stuff you need to prep. And that stuff is going to be like, do you know the rules? Do you know where they're going to be? Do you have some stat blocks if you need those for this system? And what's the basic hook? Maybe a couple of maps, like points or whatever. And hopefully that didn't take you more than like 30 minutes to come up with. And if you have more prep time than that, prep the stuff that you love. Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
if you love painting things, prep painting things. If you love detailed factions and characters with voices, practice those. Do some voice work
Yeah.
at home and come up with, quirks and stuff. But you should really only be spending extra time on prep if you enjoy doing that prep. Because
Mhm.
if you
Yeah.
don't, you're going to burn yourself
Yeah.
out.
And
Yeah.
and when
won't
you
take-
do that, that'll come
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
That love and that care for that'll come through, and it'll make the game
Yeah.
better. And
Exactly.
people will overlook, like, okay, this guy fumbled with some stats and all that stuff, but he's got these cool minis and the cool
Mhm.
voices, and like, so that,
Yeah.
that'll definitely add to the
Yeah,
the
that's a
game.
great example, Ken, because I hate prepping monsters. I just don't like to stat them out. It's not bad in Cast
Yeah.
Crusades because like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
stat block is simple, but I've run games like I was running when we were running 5e at Crossroads, and like one of the battles, I had this miniature that was like this bat demon thing, and it had I don't even know what the name of it was. I'd never heard of it before, but it had like 4 arms, and I was like, okay, well, it can fly, and it has 4 attacks, and I want it to do this level, so it's going to do this much damage, and this is going to be its bonus to hit. And that
Nice.
was it. And I've talked to my
Mhm.
son about it too, and he'd asked me. I've done that in CNC. Like I'm just like I'll put some miniature on the table, and I just make up the stats because I don't like to sit there and write stats out because it's just like an inspiration killer for me. Like I just have
I
no. I'll do it sometimes. Like I have a lot of converted stuff. Like I've converted
Yeah.
from Pathfinder to CNC and 3E to Pathfinder to CNC, but as a
I'm the
general rule,
exact
I don't
opposite.
like doing that. I don't like doing that. So it's like my son was asking me one day. He's like, "Well, what did you have stats for that?" I'm like, "No." Like I knew what its AC was.
Not
I
really.
knew what its bonus to hit was and how much damage. And he's like, "That's it." I'm like, "That's really all I needed." Yeah. So I didn't need, it's all this other
Mhm.
stuff that I wasn't going to use. It was just going to be in that fight. Like it wasn't going to be doing anything else. So like I didn't need a lot. So I just made it up. And they're
Yeah,
like,
I'm
"Oh, okay."
I'm the exact opposite from you, where it's like
Mhm.
if I have to like craft out the things that are going to be at the table, I just get upset about that. It's just does not spark joy. But if I have like a stat block like format or template in front of me, and I can think of like, well, how would this monster's ability interact with its minion's ability? Maybe I'll tweak those two things, and I'll spend hours just trying to get like the encounter interesting in just the stat blocks.
I did that a little bit. Like I did like the whole spider thing that we were doing for an arc. The first time they really started dealing with that stuff, I used like these swarms, but I don't remember where I got the stats. They were awful. Like they were not even a challenge. So then I was like, well, that kind of sucked. And I remember from playing like the Pathfinder video games, they use swarms and they're a giant pain in the ass. So I was like,
Yeah.
all right. So I dug out my Pathfinder bestiaries and then just converted the swarms over to Castles and
Nice.
Crusades. and they were no longer walkover. Like my players were like, "Oh crap!" Like they dreaded swarms more than anything else because they were just nasty. It was great, and I did have fun doing that conversion. I had fun with that because then I brought back more of a challenge to the table than I had presented previously.
Nice.
Yeah, I think you're right though. You're definitely right. You prep if you have extra time. Prep the stuff that you really like to do because nothing will
Yeah.
burn you out quicker. Like I've run the one shots I run back when I was running 5e, especially at like at the crossroads and stuff. Like I didn't even do the pre-gens. Like I had either one of either my son did them or one of my players or both. I'm like, hey, they like to make characters. So I was like, I don't even like to make characters. I'm like, I need this, this, and this. Make me one of those. And they would make them and send them to me. I'm like, awesome. Thanks. I didn't want to do that. I get burnt out doing that. I don't now because I'm not prepping a 5e character. Like Cast Crusade is pretty easy. So
Yeah, CNC
sure.
is fairly easy to stat
Simple.
out anything that you want to
yeah,
that you want to build like right away.
way better.
And I
in that
even,
regard.
you know, I shouldn't say this out loud in front of people that that are in my games,
Sit
but
at your table.
like I had some I had like some ogres, right? You guys were fighting ogres, is that what they were? Yeah, earmuffs, you two. But no, they're fighting some ogres, and I had I wanted to put an ogre chieftain in there, you know. So like instead of like just taking like an ogre stat block and just like amping it up, I just gave him a hill giant stats, and so that gave him like, and so instead of just being like a little more powerful, he was like twice as powerful because now instead of a +4, he's got a +9 to hit, and like he came out and like swung, and like I think he swung at Joe, and you know, I rolled like an 11 on the die, and I'm like, oh, he rolled a 20, and Joe was like, this guy's 9 hit dice, like what? You know, and the table's like, oh shit, this guy's gonna be rough, you know. And it's kind of like that surprise instead of like, wow, he's, you know, stronger than we thought.
But
you know, and
I
then
do that all
I
the
like
time,
that
though.
stuff, you know, because to me, it's like, well, that's why he's the chieftain. It makes sense for the chieftain to be this huge brawler because they're, you know, they're a primitive society where the ruler is based on who can smack the hardest.
strongest, right?
That totally makes sense to me, and I like that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and if it was a guy that only had one more hit die, 2 of them would have ganged up and killed them, you know. And then so like having him be the 9 hit die, you know. See, Joe didn't cover his ears. He wasn't fake. He was just an ogre that, you know, was enhanced
on roids.
Performance and
I always
ogre.
some of my guys that I play with
Get
are in the
tested.
comments, and I'm sure they can attest to. I always change up the monsters because one, I have all veteran players, so I like people to be surprised for real. Like they can all play being surprised, but I also I prefer it if they are really surprised. So
yeah,
I throw stuff at them, and it'll look like a regular zombie, but it'll have, you know, X, Y, and Z extras
and,
attached.
And there's
to
always players that as soon as they see the monster, and they're like, "Oh, I know what that is." They look in the monster manual, you know, or they look on their phone. You know, I'm answering a text. Yeah, I'm googling the stats for an ogre. Yeah, and you know, and it's again, that's one of those things. Everybody's like, "No, that doesn't happen." It sure does.
It does.
It happens.
Yeah. Not so much at my table, but I've seen it. I've seen it done, and I'm like, "What are you doing?"
When we first started playing the CNC campaign with Roger, we would encounter a monster, and I would be super excited to see this monster. And Ken, you need to break out the tangent sign because we're way out there. I would be excited to see this monster. I'm like, oh, this is a roper, or this is a hook horror, or this is a whatever. And everybody's like, well, what can it do? I'm like, oh, it can do this, this, and this. And I'm telling that because I'm excited to see this monster, not because I want to be like, here's what we need to do to defeat the monster. I'm a 2nd level cleric. You know, Yohai doesn't know what this stuff is, but I know what it is. And because I'm a blabbermouth that has to let I'm a pedantic douchebag is what I am. I have to let everybody know everything I know about this monster. And I think after like maybe even the 2nd time I did it, Roger called me up one night when I was driving home, and he's like, look, I get it. I know you're really excited about the monster, but please stop because the second you tell these guys what the monster is, Andrew starts looking it up. And I was like, oh man, I'm really sorry, dude. Because it doesn't occur to me to do that, but other players do. So after we would kill the monster, then I'd be like, this was what it was. And here's all the stuff on it. It's so cool. We got to fight this monster.
And I just want like some of these guys to be like surprised by the stuff like we were the first time.
Yeah.
You know, like the first time we saw a hook horror or whatever, you know, it's like, oh geez, like we don't know. Like, you know, and just knowing the stats, like it's like, I mean, I get it, right? Like if there's like a hill giant, right, that's like, you know, 9 hit dice and you guys are first level, like, yeah, obviously, so okay, he's big, he's huge, like we can't fight that thing, like we gotta go, you know, but you know, but some things like they gotta figure out, you know, on their own or like whatever. So
when I was teaching my son how to play, he was never allowed to look at the monster manual.
That's the right way to go.
He couldn't look at it. And then as he got a little bit older, he wanted to start running games. And I was really kind of torn because I wanted him because I think that's obviously a cool thing to do. But I was torn because then he was going to get access to the monster manual. And I was like, oh, man, because I just remember that first adventure where I played where I had no idea what anything was. And then over time, you lose that because you just get more experienced as a player. And I'm like, it's hard to get that back unless you change monsters all the time and what they can do.
My only pushback on that, because I agree with you, is that seeing the monster manual too, first ed, is what got me into Dungeons and Dragons. Had it not been laying out so that I could look at those monsters and read those stats, I never would have even heard of D&D. How sad would that be for my life?
Yeah, no, I get it. And monster manuals and setting books are my 2 favorite types of books.
Yeah.
And with monster manuals being first. And I totally get that. Like, cause I get suckered in. I just wanted to try to preserve that newness for him as long as I possibly could. And, he just never until he started running his own games could he do it. And then cause I have a big collection of monster manuals and, I would make some off limits. Like you can't look at this one. You can have this one. You can have the one from the core book set. That's fine. But these other ones that I bought from these obscure publishers, you're not allowed to look at.
You can't look at the Fiend Folio.
Yeah, this one's mine. I'm keeping it.
Well, we talked about the monster overhaul, I think, on one of the previous shows that I was on. But I think one of the cool things about that book, for instance, is your random the monsters have parts that are randomly generated from tables, so they're not all going to be the same. You know, in terms of like their motivation and abilities or weaknesses, and so like that's one thing that I think makes that such a cool monster manual to use at the table is not every ogre is going to be the same, not every whatever creature is going to be the same. The other thing I would say is one of the reasons I feel like I collect an impossible number of adventures is like a lot of it published adventures have, unique and interesting monsters in them. Like DCC, for example, almost every adventure has, they have a pretty minimal monster manual in the core book. And I know they made a monster manual not that long ago, but most of their adventures have, 1, 2, 3 unique enemies in there, and you can obviously lift those and put them in, your own stuff, and your players aren't going to know what they are unless they own those adventures. So,
right.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's like what Rooster says here, not knowing what creatures can do is what makes playing Call of Cthulhu so great.
Yeah, it's same with Mothership, right? Like most of those Mothership modules have some kind of thing going on that is unique to that, and you're trying to uncover what it is. And Call of Cthulhu and Delta Green, same thing.
Yeah, the Mothership monsters are not in Monster Manual Volume 1. So it's always something different. Not.
Yeah. Well, the Mothership has the box set has a monster manual in it. I think it's called like Unconfirmed Contact Report or something like that. And it's more of like a sketch of what those things are. It's like it's a monster manual, but it's an ill-defined one. It's sort of giving you the hints of what this thing supposedly is. We've heard of a creature that does this. So it's not going to give you, as a player, if you read it, it's not giving you all the answers. It's giving you like an idea of what this monster is capable of. And then, as the warden, you're sort of fleshing that out fully into stats and choosing how to make that real. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I want to go into systems, talk about different systems and stuff. I know that I had on the list like what systems work great for one shot. What the first question I'd like to ask is, are there any systems that don't work for a one shot that you would definitely be like, no, that's a no go? I think for me, the first one that I think of is something like Axe, like Adventure Conquer King system. Like you could do a one shot in that, and I think it'd be fine, but it would be no different than running any kind of like OSR, a BX game or a white box game or something like that, because the game itself, is about building up armies and running things and all of that stuff. So I think that's like it wouldn't work well as a one shot because you wouldn't be able to see the system itself shine.
Yeah, I
Um,
wouldn't really show it off very well.
Yeah, and that's the only reason I say it would be not great for a one shot. Like I think it would work fine, but like I said, it would be no different than running BX, or any BX clone that's out there.
Yeah.
But is there anything that you guys think systems that wouldn't work to run a one shot?
So I think a lot of it has to do with the situation. So are you running a one shot at a con where you're advertising what the system is and people are going to be signing up for it that are aligned with that system or style of play? If I'm running a one shot for people that don't normally play role playing games, I'm not going to bust out Pathfinder 2E.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, here's right. Like,
Yeah.
so I would probably do something like Dread or Cairn or something that's very, where I really don't even need to tell you the rules. It's just like, here's a character and you tell me what you want to do. And as the rules come up, we're going to talk about them, but they're very minimal. Similarly, like, if the four of you guys are like, Matt, run a game for us, I probably wouldn't run Dread unless that was something you specifically wanted to play, because it's, kind of like baby's first role-playing game. It's great. At what it does, it's awesome. I think once you've played it a couple
fantastic.
times,
I think it's fantastic for a one shot.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, so I think a lot of it has to do with like the intent of what you're trying to accomplish, the players, how much time you have, what the environment is. I really like running horror games at home because you have control over the atmosphere, like the lighting, the music.
Yeah.
Like you can't really do that in a convention. I still like running some of those games at a convention, but like if you played Moonbase Blues with me at home, like I have a whole custom soundtrack that I play that's all songs that have blue in them. And like at the beginning, it's like it's eventually somebody will piece it together after 2 or 3 songs. Like, wait a minute, and so like that kind of stuff is fun. You can't do that in a convention space. So
now I want to play that at your house where the lights turn blue and stuff.
Yeah, you can do some cool stuff there. So, but yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with, and then like, are you going to run something that's like overtly political? Are you going to run something that's like, like certain Lamentations modules, right? You're just going to bust those out at the table on unsuspecting friends or strangers. Yeah. Certainly things like that are content warning, or if you haven't had discussion, you're not going to want to, drop on people.
Yeah. And I think that's a thing. Like I know people get in, like, they want to play, like the whole X card thing, or they got the thing with the cards, where you put in, what you don't like or whatever. And, it's not, I mean, I'm against that stuff, but not because like, I mean, I think the GM should lay stuff like that out and say, okay, this is going to be a game where there's, it's grimdark horror. You're going into a layer of spiders to go against the Spider Queen, right? Or whatever. And that should be laid out. So like, if you've got a thing
right for spiders,
yeah, like you probably shouldn't sign up for that game, and I think the GM and like all that other stuff, I think like, the lines and veils. I mean, like if you're running for unknown people, like you shouldn't be doing any of that stuff anyway,
that is certainly true. There are lines that any thinking person knows you don't cross those lines. However, it's like planning a party for 50 people and you want to ask each one of them what they can and cannot eat. By the end of the day, you're going to be making a
Sure.
specific meal for each of those 50 people, or everyone's going to be dead of something.
Mhm.
You know, and so for me, it's look, dude, you're going to sit down for 4 hours and play D&D. If you can't put your personal hangups aside for 4 hours, find a new hobby, find a new table. I'm okay either way. And if that means that 5 people get up and leave my table and I'm standing there alone, I can go play Skyrim.
I'm the opposite of that. If I'm cooking for 5 people, I do tend to ask them, "Hey, are you allergic to nuts?"
Well,
Or is there
sure.
anything you're allergic to?
Yeah, but there's a difference between cooking for people where it might literally kill them
Kill them. Yeah.
versus,
Sure.
oh, you've hurt my feelings.
My wife doesn't like cilantro, so I won't put cilantro in the
That's
meal,
your wife.
right? And
Well,
if
so-
somebody else came over, I also would not put cilantro in their meal if they said, "I hate cilantro," because
Is she
I'm-
one of the
I'm trying to make
cilantro tastes
a
like
comfortable
soap?
environment.
Yeah.
Soap
he's
people?
a soap cilantro person.
Yeah, I think I
Yeah.
am too. I don't know. I don't like cilantro,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I'm still
Unfortunately.
working on that.
Anyway,
Yeah.
but that being said, I don't find it to be a huge mental load to go, "Hey, do any of these things bother you?" And just like players going, "We're going to go check out the swamp." If they go, "Man, I hate spiders," I kind of like the challenge of going, "All right, can I do this without spiders?" Not, it's never happened. Nobody has ever in any game I've ever prepped said, "Here's a real strong X card," or "Here's a veil I would never cross." Right.
Sure.
So I've never had to worry about it, but I do feel better offering it. So I'm on the other side of the fence there. But that's just to give the
Yeah.
devil's advocate.
No, that's fine. You and I have different opinions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and
Oh,
I
no.
understand. And my
How are
point
we ever
with
going to
it,
play together on Sunday? I
Yeah,
don't
right.
think I can
And-
do this.
you know, my point with it was just that, like, if it says the thing on the tin, like, and you've got an issue with that thing, like the spider thing or whatever, like, duh, you know what I mean? You probably shouldn't, like, don't show up to the table and say, "Oh, I don't like spiders," when clearly this is
Right.
like
Oh no,
the
that's
layer of
that's
the
what it's about.
spiders adventure.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that was
The web
yeah.
of the Demon Queen.
Yeah.
It's a picture of Rolf on the front.
I
Yeah.
don't like royalty or demons. So can
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
it's like,
spiders.
okay, well, now I'm not
So-
changing that adventure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
that's
I
fair.
guess
No,
I
that's-
guess
that's
to kind of stick to the analogy you guys were using, I think so okay, if you're playing in my game, I think it's like a chef selection kind of thing, right? Like you should
Mm.
trust me that I've curated an experience that I think is going to be good for you. But to your point about food allergies, if you do chef selection, they're still going to ask you, does anybody have any food allergies, right?
Mhm.
I don't have an issue with that. And when I run horror games, I try to be descriptive if it's a one shot, and whether it's a con or not, these are some of the things you're going to run into. I did at Gen Con, I played Liminal Horror, the mall, and I thought it was like, so they gave us like a safety tool to fill out. It was like filling out like your paperwork at a new doctor's office. It was like 4 pages of stuff. And it took everybody like 20 minutes to do.
Right.
And, mine was like,
that
I don't
sounds
care about
tough.
any of this. So it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. But
Yeah.
and then I'm like, so is the DM going to take all of these and parse like these 5 pages of information and like modify that? Like that is so over the
a
top.
4-hour
for me.
time slot.
Like,
Yeah.
you are signing
Yeah.
up for a horror game that is like available and has plenty of summary information. You should have now, if you want to say very specifically, like, I had an eye injury and that skeeves me out. Can we, like minimize that? Or if it comes up, just let me know so I can walk away for a second. Like, fine. But yeah, so I'm kind of in the middle. And I do play a lot of horror games. So like, I don't want anybody to have a bad experience, but it's like if you go to like Nightmare on Elm Street and you go like, I don't like teenagers being murdered, I don't like bad dreams, I don't like sharp claws, like it's like, why did you pick this movie?
I'm
So-
with you on
Yeah.
Yeah.
To clarify, I've never had anyone fill out the doctor intake form. I have seen those, and I think that's overkill. It's like the pendulum swinging too far the other way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just in my opinion. But I do offer the, like, if you want to say no in advance, please say it right now, and I'll maybe take the 1 or 2 things and take them into consideration.
I push back on that stuff a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, I know that it's me, but I played D&D for 35 years before I ever saw an X card on a table, and I saw it and I was like, "What the hell is wrong with these people?" I just like it. Even now, man, I cannot wrap my head around it. How can you be so weak? In my opinion, how can you be so weak that you need a card on the table that if the mean guy across the table says something that not that your character doesn't like, but that you don't like, you have to slap your hand on the X card. Oh, you have got you
Yeah.
have very first world problems
yeah,
in your life.
you're not wrong. I guess like to devil's advocate that a little bit, Jason. Like I think it also a lot of it has to do with the quality or character of the person running the game, and like
Mhm.
there are bad actors out there, and there are people that introduce things that shouldn't be introduced. And so I think the
Sure.
reason why some of this exists is to give people a way, because it's hard. Like when you're in a social space and nobody else is saying they're uncomfortable, I think it's hard for people to say, "Hey, this is making me uncomfortable." And then you end up with something where it's like 4 hours have gone by, and after the fact, somebody's going, "Yeah, this person did this thing, and I was uncomfortable for 4 hours." But I think exactly what you said, Ken. It's just been shoved so far to like that pendulum got swung so far
Yeah, to the
the other
extreme.
way
Yeah.
that I think it sort of has become comical how it's been applied. Like
Yeah.
it's taking something that in concept isn't a bad idea and turning it into a bad idea. That's my feeling on it.
For they've turned something that was nothing more than a conversation, right? Like when we played Mothership for a while, and I'm a horror fan. Like I love horror, but we had we were all friends, but we had a conversation in the beginning of it, like what is there certain types you don't like, and like body horror came up, and I'm not a fan of that myself. That's not my favorite type of horror,
Yeah,
so
same.
Yeah, but
I'm like,
something like
I love it. I love it.
something like body horror though, like in a game, like I would not run a public game for people that I don't
Same.
know with like a ton of body horror in it, or like
Right.
Matt, like you mentioned, like
Yeah, Moonbase Blues has body
Pan or
Yeah,
whatever.
Moonbase
but-
Blues has body horror.
right, but you did like, okay, here's a guy, he's shoving a light bulb like into his eye or
Sure.
whatever, like, and there were things like that, but you didn't you weren't over the top with, you were like, okay,
Right.
this guy's like jamming a light bulb into his eye, like, and that was it. Like you didn't,
Yeah.
like,
that
I mean,
stuff
if you
wouldn't
started
bother me, I guess.
describing that and all
doesn't bother
that,
me.
my eye would start watering and start twitching. You know what I mean? And I'd be like, okay, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm with Matt
we
though.
get it.
I would start describing.
You know what
Yeah,
I
I
mean?
would.
No,
game.
but, like, see, I wouldn't. I
Hopefully
wouldn't.
you
And
told
so,
me in
like,
advance.
yeah, right. Yeah.
I was
So-
running a game for it was actually my first all-female table. I was at Crossroads, and one of the players was this teenage girl. It was her first game ever, and they got attacked by spiders. I was using spiders again, and they got hit with a swarm, and I got really kind of descriptive on it, like crawling all over them. And one of the other players, she looked at the new girl, and she was like, "Oh," she's like, "if there's anything that bothers you, you can just kind of say something." And she just looked at us and she was like, "Oh, this is awesome." And I was like,
Very cool.
I
Yeah.
was like, this is one of my crowning moments as a game master was this. Yeah, I mean, I'm fine. Like years ago, I was running D20 Modern, and we were talking about like starting up a new campaign, and this was with friends, and we're just spitballing ideas, and one of them was we were just going to play like this anti-terrorist unit and do all this crazy 24 style stuff. One of my players was a veteran, and he was like, "I'm not really interested in that." And I was like, "Cool, man." And we just went on to the next idea. That was it.
Yep.
I had a player, he doesn't get to play with us much anymore, but he's afraid of spiders. He's a friend of mine. That did not stop me from putting spiders in the game or being a dink and like tormenting him, but I wouldn't do that at a public game with people I didn't know. Like
Right.
Public
You told
game with
that
people I
story
don't
about
know.
running your finger across the back of
Yes.
his neck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But your
But-
friends do
My friends.
that to each
friends,
other.
Yeah.
You know?
But when we played, like I played Call of Cthulhu, and we played Massa Neo RTAP, and my friend Kirk that ran that fucking guy's world class game master. He sent me a message one day, and he was like, "Hey," because we were going into I think the New York and chapter, and he's like, "Hey, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit because the time frame for this, there's a lot of like police corruption. There's a lot. That's my former life, and there's a lot of that in this game. And if that's something you're okay with, and I'm like, dude, I don't give a shit. I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm afraid of heights and I don't like snakes. You can throw all that shit at me in a game. I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just me personally. It's my issues is my issue. That's how I look at it. So
And
if I don't like it, I
really-
move on.
that is a
and-
much
and-
more
or deal with
succinct
it.
way of saying what I was saying earlier. These are your issues. They shouldn't be the table's issues or the character's issues.
Yeah, I think the other thing that's maybe is sort of worth thinking about too is like if you're playing Dungeons and Dragons. So say you grew up with an alcoholic parent, and so that's like something you don't want in your game. Like that organically, that is probably not going to come up in Dungeons and Dragons, right? Like someone would have to weirdly shoehorn that in to most Dungeons and Dragons games for that
Right.
to show up. If you're playing like Cult or Delta Green or something, there's a very real chance that those kind of themes could come up.
Yeah.
So
true.
I think that's the other thing is like if you're sitting down to play Keep on the Borderlands and you're like, hey, let's go over like lines and veils. It's like, you don't like killing orcs. Like, why are you here? But there's other,
Yeah.
there's other games where it's like there may be some themes that people don't want, sort of like what you just said, Dakota. Like there may be certain themes that like, this person doesn't want to play that in their, there's a whole series of Delta Green that's about like pedophilia and stuff like and
Yeah, I wouldn't want that.
I mean most tables are like not gonna want to touch that adventure and that's fine
and I wouldn't run that as a one shot for training.
right.
Like, that just seems
Yes,
like a
that
bad
would be
idea.
a very weird choice to just be like, so
How did you land on this choice?
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to look at, I'd want to be looking at the guy running that game a little bit closer, actually, if that's the choice you landed
That's
on.
right.
Yeah.
This sounds like
do
a great
background
idea.
check on you real
No, it
quick.
doesn't.
Yeah, so that's the other thing I guess is like applying a tool that makes sense in one place to places where maybe it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I guess we kind of covered, I think, everything with that. What systems work great for one shots? I know there's a lot of stuff out there, right? And I mean, I would
there's a
say
lot of good
anything
ones.
that's
Matt has brought up a dozen of these where it's like, Mothership.
Mork board,
Mothership is
board,
fantastic.
board
The-
games.
I think
Yeah.
anything
Shadow
that's
Dart.
anything
where you
that's
can roll with
BX
the guy.
based or simple. Yeah, I think BX or
Yeah.
white box based.
Yeah.
I
I'm
think
going
works.
to point at Dragon's Bane. It's
Yep.
so easy to make a character in Dragon's Bane, so easy. And and this is something. There you go. Roger and I have discussed it. Roger feels like it's not really good for a long-term campaign. I disagree, but that's his take. But we both agree. Boy, it's great for a one-shot. It's a blast.
Yeah.
Mouse Ritter
I love
was
that game.
fun when
Good.
Joe ran Mouse Ritter. That was
Yep.
a good time.
I ran a couple one shots of Mouse Ritter, and it like many of these other systems, it's so easy to roll something up. It's so easy to characterize things very quickly, and one of the things I think we kind of touched on this last time, or maybe we didn't touch it on the stream. So Numenera, as an example of a game that is really cool. I don't personally like the system, but the
Setting's
world setting
awesome,
is
yeah.
really cool, right? However, for a one shot, trying to get people to understand what they are doing in the game and why, it's a lot harder. Whereas with a Mouse Ritter or a Morkborg or something, the stakes are probably in your brain already. You're a mouse. There's a hawk. You don't want to see that. There's cheese. You definitely do want that. So it's, I guess systems that are very easy to digest thematically, right?
Yeah, and I've ran No Thank You Evil. It's like the kids version of the Cypher system.
Right.
And that runs really, really well. I think
Nice.
it still has kind of like the same issue where the points you want to spend to do things are your hit points.
Yeah.
But it's just it's a D6 instead of a D20, and it's really great, I think, for kids. Because you just pick an archetype, like you just pick some, like, okay, I'm a Jedi or whatever, and like that's your
Mhm.
thing, right? Or like, or
Yeah.
you know, I'm a stormtrooper, or I'm a fighter, or I'm a knight, or whatever, and then you could just give them a +1 bonus basically for, you know, for whatever,
Knightly
you know, for
things, yeah.
anything, anything that fits, and it really doesn't matter, you know, and I think it works really well, and there's no like added kind of, you know, stuff to it. Like Numenera and Cypher System has all this like added stuff that just kind of,
Yeah.
I think, drags the game down and all that. So it's really quick and easy. It's more geared toward kids. I mean, you could probably run it for adults. I don't know if it would be, you know, that much fun,
Mhm.
but yeah, I mean, that's one, like, you know, I've ran a bunch of that for kids. And it works great, you know. So that's what I would run over that. I've ran Cypher System like one shots and things, but I don't know. I just I don't like the system. I know Ken, you and I talked about that a little bit
Yeah.
off stream. I'm just not a fan of it. The settings are fantastic though that they have.
Is that the same?
Strange Numenera.
Is that the same system they use for Old Gods of Appalachia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I played that once with my friend Kirk, who's just awesome Call of Cthulhu. He ran an awesome game, but like it was one of those games at the end of it, I was like, we could have done that with Call of Cthulhu or Vaesen or
Yeah.
even,
Yeah.
you know,
I think there's a
something
lot
like
of
that.
better
Like, the system
choices
didn't,
for all their stuff.
yeah, the system didn't blow up my skirt, but the setting was awesome. Like you said, though, they did an awesome job with the setting. I mean, they nailed
Same
it.
with
And
same with
I just saw the
Numenera.
latest. I just saw the latest
Yeah.
book at Crossroads, and the cover was just creepy as hell. Like it looked awesome. And I was like,
Nice.
I wish
Yeah.
that was for Call of Cthulhu.
Dread. I know, Matt, you mentioned Dread. I think that's a great system. That's really made to do a one shot.
I think
works
it's
really well.
yeah, I think it's probably the best tool I've run across yet for people that have never done a role playing game.
Yeah.
And I've run it several times for friends and their significant others, all of whom have never played a role playing game before. Twice I've done it on Halloween or around Halloween, and both times universally the feedback was like, I didn't know that's what role playing games were. Like they,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a really interesting distillation of like what the process is, and then just like playing with a sort, because I do the one that's it's like the aliens one is in the book is my favorite of that. There's like the werewolf and the what is it like the Jason killer or whatever, and then there's the one that's aliens, and that one I really like. And I've like drawn up a map of like what that ship is, so I can sort of map the space and take people through it. But I think that is like, if you want to give friends an experience where like, because the rules are so easy to understand and sort of just like, hey, let's spend a couple hours and you can sort of get a feel for like what this is like that is one of the best ways to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for what it's worth, I think 5e is one of the worst. Like, it's still in my mind that like that is the default go-to, because it's a pretty crunchy, complicated system. And like
anything that's that crunchy,
slow. It's so slow. Like
the Dungeons and Drafts at the bar, and you get a character sheet that's 3 pages long, and it's in 7-point font, and you can't even read. And it's like, how is this what people are playing for the first time?
And you're drinking, like, forget it. You know
what is Dungeons and Drafts, by the way?
It's like a thing that they run. There's like different bars here where like once a month, that's a rotation of all different bars. They'll run like one shots with multiple DMs, and you just sign up in advance and you get a discount on your food and drink while you're there.
I might have to do that here.
There's a
that
whole
sounds fun.
There's a whole
not with 5e, but yeah.
There's a whole thing for it. It's usually in like bigger cities. So like they do it in New York City. I don't know if there's anywhere that's like New York City, Philly, like Cincinnati, Denver. I think like, there's a handful of larger cities where they do it. I don't know we'll have to see if we can like contact them or something and maybe start a
I'm just doing my
a
own.
chapter or something. But
I'm
but
not
I
playing
don't
5e
know.
at the bar. That's ridiculous.
Just I be at the bar.
I don't know. A few drinks, it might actually be enjoyable.
Oh man.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, like DCC or Shadow Dark are just
Yep.
so much easier to
Yeah.
track what's going on than 5e.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not
Yeah.
even close.
Right.
So
And so,
played-
yeah, maybe we can, maybe we start a new chapter and it's not,
Daggerheart.
we don't do, well, let's not get rash.
It's not Dagger.
I'm playing-
That's a good call.
It's
I'm playing Daggerheart
Daggerheart.
Saturday, Ken.
hey,
Friday.
congrats.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
another game.
I
Set
want to
number
hear a
one.
full report on what you think.
Yeah.
Ken is Ken runs a lot of Daggerheart. He's making his own changes to try and make it OSR like. Hope you don't mind me saying that out loud in front of everybody.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
too late now. But so hey, if you guys want to see an episode where we talk to Ken about Daggerheart and his changes and making it OSR like and talking about it, let us know in the comments and we'll do that on the comments or in the chat. Let us know and if at least 4 people say that they that they want it, then we'll do it. How's that? Is that fair, Ken?
That sounds great.
Jason looks like he's going to call in sick for that one.
All right.
So
He's
everyone in
typing
the
away.
chat
He
must
wants
agree
to
to
see it.
this.
Yeah, he's
I thought for sure.
Jason's
Ron
like,
was
I'm
gonna
sick
say
that day.
400
Oh, that's
people
fine.
say that.
100 people.
400 people.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were going to say.
Well, look, we could do it all in one episode, or I could just drip it over the next.
I can,
If we
year or
get
I
so.
can get
1,000
4 people.
subscribers,
Right here and there.
If I can get 4 people to watch that show, I'll be happy. So
Let me log into my alternate accounts.
yeah, sorry. Other thing, yeah. Oh no.
Oh, look at him come.
There we go.
Okay, so there's Joe. Joe's Edgelord says he's only going to do it if Jason's in.
Let's go, Jason.
Of course I will. It's not an issue. Yeah.
Oh,
Instead of getting frustrated every time Ken says something, though, you got to take a shot.
I only drink rum and very rarely.
there we go.
This is ginger beer.
There you
Yeah,
go.
but you got to do a
This was
shot.
my
of-
drink tonight.
There's 3.
Good stuff.
There's
That's
3.
I'm not going to log in and say it, but I.
All right. So, yeah, no, I think there's a handful of stuff. Now, I've mentioned Hollow Point before, and it's an interesting system that's from, I don't know, I think it's from like the 90s. It's like VSCA. They don't even exist anymore. And that's sort of made as like a one shot. It's a D6 dice pool system, and the level up mechanic is basically you die, your character gets killed, taken out of combat, doing like one of his goals basically, and then you come back as like the next higher like character or whatever. And then once you do that 3 times, like you can actually you actually like win, when your third character is out with one of his goals. It's an interesting thing. It's meant to be like an action, like any action movie, things like that. So you could do like a John Wick type of thing or whatever. I guess he's more solo, but like casino or like a heist thing, or or you're all
The
like Men in
Expendables.
Black type of thing. So things like that. Yeah. So but that's like designed for a one shot. So I wanted to throw that out there. And I wrote down a ton of stuff. No thank you, Evil. We talked about Kids on Bikes, I think is good for a one shot. That's like a Stranger Things thing. DCC, I think it's fantastic for a one shot. Any of the DCCs, DCC, X Crawl, Weird Frontiers, I think they're all fantastic for that. And I'm not a big fan of that stuff for a campaign game because the magic gets out of control in a hurry.
Yeah, it does.
But for a one shot, it's like, who cares? I love it, and I think it's great, for that stuff. Any of the Free League stuff, I think is fantastic. The box sets are awesome.
Yeah.
Things like that.
And for
more
because it's
for-
a one shot.
Yeah, go ahead.
all of their Free League stuff, all their box sets come with really good pre-gen characters.
Yes, they do.
Oh, they're
And
fantastic.
handouts and maps and
Yep.
stuff. Yes, yeah. If
Making
you
a
want
great
to,
time.
that's a great point, Jason. Yeah, if you want to give people that sort of tangible, high quality experience, and you're shit at painting like some of us, or you don't want to spend a lot of money, like that is a great way to get to that experience without having to have any artistic ability.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
typically, well, like with the Dragonbane, the first time I ever ran Dragonbane was I played it a lot, but I'd never run it, and we had some space to fill at our gaming weekend, and I had already run my game, but I was like, oh, I had my wife drop off the box set and just handed out the pre-gens, and we started like the intro to the first campaign. I actually ran 2 sessions that weekend of it, and it was super easy. I mean, I felt underprepared because I was so used to like being prepared, but like my buddy Carl, who played in it, he liked it so much he went home and bought it. Like, and that's the game he wants to run. Like he wants to run Dragonbane.
That's cool.
It's such a great system, and it's so simple to run too. It's easy. We didn't have to spend a lot of time messing with rules, and
there's lots
like
of pretty good one shots out there for it too. It's I don't think it's like Shadow Dark or Morkborg or Mothership level of support, but there's definitely a lot of stuff out there on Drive Through RPG, and a lot of it's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I think like the Powered by the Apocalypse and Forged in the Dark games are not the best always for new players. Like Forged in the Dark, especially the ability to exchange position for effect and like Devil's Bargains, and there's just that's not only is the game sort of designed for like longer play over time, it's probably not a good RPG for someone that hasn't played a lot of RPGs. And like partial successes and stuff like that, like and then certain like dice pool engines, I think like dice pools can be, I think Free Leagues is pretty good. I think Free Leagues is pretty beginner friendly. There's others that I think are less so. Dice pools aren't always the easiest for people to wrap their brain around. It's a lot less straightforward than like, roll this 1 die and add 3 and tell me if you got a 15 or higher. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll also say like that Alien first box set that came out is probably the best published like short adventure that I've ever run, but I don't think you could get through it in 4 hours and have it be a really satisfying adventure, right? It's not going to be a con game. When we say one shot, maybe like for 3 sessions, you commit to 3 sessions and that's the whole game. And
that's not a one shot at this point, but do you think you can make that into a one shot, Ken? Like you think
not in a satisfying way. There's probably a Mothership module that could do that, but there's like hidden role mechanics and there's a lot of stuff to explore and phases, and one of the less hidden roles is like you are searching for your next fix, so that's what you want to do. And don't tell anybody about it. And so you waste some time going over by yourself to the infirmary to try and like scrounge up something out of the syringes or whatever. But there's just a lot of like environmental like scene setting moments that are supposed to be slow and quiet because we're in the beginning of the first Alien movie where it's not action packed yet. So I don't think you could run it really well as a single like session game.
Yeah, you'd have to find a point that's like where the action starts and you can,
there's places where you could stop. Like if you were running it for friends, right? You could stop at certain points and then say, if you want to continue this, we can, or we, you know what I mean? But you definitely wouldn't have the full, like there's not a way to cut that story down and get it done in 3 hours. So it'd be like a Back to the Future kind of, and you know what I mean? It's like, it would still be fun, but it definitely would stop with like a cliffhanger and not be finished. So
Easy D6.
Yes.
That's on my list. I think
Answer,
you can easily do anything
Matt.
there. Is this
Question,
Matt Brewster?
Yeah,
No?
my buddy Matt. Yes, Matt. That
Yeah.
would be.
Super easy to play.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You've got a target number,
One of
roll
my-
your dice pool. Done.
One of my favorite one shots I ever ran was in Star Wars D6.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't know. If you guys ever run or played Roll for Shoes,
No.
Never even heard of it.
never even heard of it. It's
I'm
like a
addicted to
D6
that one.
system. It's really so everybody it's really meant for like a one shot, but you have like a story and then everybody starts off as like basically a nobody that has one skill, and that one skill is do anything, and it's 1d6. And so and the GM too. And then so basically like say you're like, okay, you're going out and you're gonna like hunt monsters, right? You're like an alien thing or whatever. You're all gonna go and like shoot stuff. So you're like, okay, I want to shoot the monster, right? So the GM rolls his D6 and the player rolls their D6. So if the player rolls a 6, then they get, and they're shooting a monster, then they get now a new skill that is shoot, 2d6, right? Because now it's another die. So they get another die added to it. And then and you're just rolling, off like each other. So the DM will roll a d6, and then you'll roll a d6. Whoever rolls highest, wins the thing, or, so you successfully shoot the monster or whatever. And then later, like you roll 2d6, and then now you need 2 6s in order to level that up. So like your shoot skill, but it has to become more specific like every time. So sometimes it gets crazy, and you don't want to get too specific right away because then, you'll run out of things later. And then I think every time you roll a 1, you get like an XP that you can use to make something a 6 for the purpose of leveling up. So like now you like shoot something else, like you shoot the monster, or maybe you shoot a door handle, right, to go through it, and you get your 2 6s on that shoot roll. Well, now you have a skill that's, shoot doors, or shoot steel, or shoot whatever, and it's 3d6. So now whenever you're shooting it, like say, okay, now I'm shooting something metal, like I can roll 3d6 now because I'm really good at it. And so you get like progressively like better, but it's more specific like as you go. And that's kind of how the game works. It's designed as like a crazy kind of one shot. It's only got like 12 rules. It's a pretty simple thing, and it kind of goes off the rails and gets a little crazy, which is kind of why I like it, I think. Because I'm into some of that stuff. But it's an interesting thing.
Pretty cool.
You guys should check it out, or maybe I'll run it one of these days, on one of these off days. We'll go from there. But
there's another one to check out called Everyone is John. Have you heard of that one?
Oh yes, Jason, you've played it. I think you're all
Yeah.
All
I mentioned it last
personalities
week.
in John's head.
Yeah,
I
we
mentioned
talked
it
about
last week because it's like being
Okay,
John
yeah.
Malkovich. Being John Malkovich. Yeah, you all bid for control over this John character, and you have 3 tiers of things that get you points: 1 point, 2 point, 3 point. The 1 point stuff is like easy,
Eat a
doable
donut,
stuff, like eat a piece of candy, something like that. The level 2 stuff is stuff that might like be bad. So it might be like slap someone in the face. And then like the level 3 stuff is like, death defying, that like jump out of a window, like something that could get your guy killed. And then you have these points that you bid for control secretly, like, and then whoever has the most points that they reveal basically gets control over John in that moment. So John, you might be controlling John, and he's okay, we're walking down the street, to go buy a newspaper, right? Because that's the thing. So you go in, you buy the newspaper, okay, guy, but you don't know what everybody else's goals are, or whatever. So like your goal is like buy a newspaper or something, or whatever. And so you get the newspaper and you go to walk out, and then and since you got a thing, everybody bids for control again. And then somebody might be like, oh, the shopkeepers are like, I've got a thing every time I slap somebody, I get 2 points. So they like bid and they go. And then John just slaps the shopkeeper, and then somebody else, so they might get 2 points. Somebody else might have a thing that's like, oh, I get 2 points every time I steal something. So then they bid for control, and now John like steals.
Yeah,
Like, you know,
it's like
something,
that
and, like,
that
runs out
Pixar
and
movie with
just random
with all the
thing.
emotions that are inside the
Oh,
little girl.
yeah.
Yes,
It's
in the
like
head.
that. Yeah, that's basically what it is. Jason looks like he can't wait to
Yeah.
play this game.
Yeah.
It
go,
sounds
Jason.
like
I thought you played it with us
I
once.
don't
We can
think
make John
so.
a ranger and you'll love it.
No,
No, this sounds like something I would be like, okay, I'll sit down and play it, and I would try to keep an open mind. Half an hour into it, I would want to tear my face off and go find something else to do.
What about Honey Heist? You guys play Honey Heist? Honey Heist is good.
Not yet. Not yet.
I have not.
You know,
Yeah,
there
you're
are
all-
games out there that just don't need to be made.
Oh, Honey Heist. What about Everything is Dolphins? The DM's the Dolphin Master. You get
That
everybody's a
sounds great.
dolphin.
Why does my
Yeah,
internet
I don't
choose to be
know.
stable during this part of the show?
Yeah. You're like, please disconnect right
please.
now.
Show me
Please
the little
crash,
globe with
please
a question
crash.
mark. Oh no.
So, no, everyone is John. It's just, it's a goofy kind of crazy kind of game. Everybody's playing the same character. You make them do dumb shit. It's fun because your character, you'll have like a level 3 ability that's like jump out of a window, and then like somebody will do something crazy and like get into a cab, and then you're like, oh, now it's my turn to shine. So you like really want that moment, and then like so you're in a cab like going somewhere. And then, like, all of a sudden, you just make John jump out of the window or something. And it's
I will
crazy.
tell you, Honey Heist is actually a pretty good game. It's a one-page RPG.
Yeah, what's Honey Heist?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
a
They're
one-page
trying to get
RPG
honey.
by Grant Howitt, who is the with Rowan Rook and Descartes, so like Heart and Spire and some of these games. So but it's
or the die.
yes,
RPG too.
correct. So here's the write up on it. It says Honey Heist is a surprisingly successful one-page RPG. Here's the plot. 1, you have a complex plan that requires precise timing. 2, you are a goddamn bear. And so basically, it's Ocean's 11 where you're trying to steal honey, but you're just a bunch of bears. That's basically the game. And every time I've seen it, I've yet to play it, but I've seen it run at RPGs, and it's like this loud table of people cracking up. So there must be something to it because it
That's a
obviously
good one
is
shot.
a lot of fun.
Yeah. And really, and the same with everybody's John in the bear thing. I know that the reason that I wouldn't enjoy it is because I can't get over myself. I've beaten everyone to the punch. I know myself inside and out, man, and there are things that I just can't do. And like
Yeah.
that table that's over there and loud, and they're having a great time. I hate them. Shut up! I'm trying to play over here, and but that's me.
Get off
And I
my
can look
lawn.
over there and be like, man, they're having a great time. I wish they'd do it somewhere else. That's just me, man. I have nothing against any of these games or the people that play them. They're simply not for me. There you go.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Hard to be a real serious ranger when someone's screaming, "I bite open the refrigerator."
Yeah. It's me, man. I've got a stick up my ass that I have not been able to surgically remove yet. Really, that's
Listen,
what it is.
I think if we
One
make
day.
John a ranger, that we can get Jason to play this.
telling
I
you,
don't know.
I do
Yeah.
play other things than Rangers. I just really like them. Unless I'm playing Weird Frontiers, and then I'm going to play a gunslinger, or I'm just
I
going to
mean,
find something else to do.
Which is really a ranger. I mean, come on,
Kind of
gunslinger.
Shoot.
You're
What if
gonna
I
tell me
told
that
you-
gunslinger and ranger isn't the same class?
No. My whole thing with being the ranger is not because I want to use a bow, because many characters, including the monk in C&C, which I really do
No,
not
I
like that rule. My whole thing is where's your tangent thing, Ken? Come on, dude.
Ken, come on.
But,
What are you
you
doing?
know,
I'm just letting
I
you go this time.
I like seeing myself in the woods, creeping, tracking,
Yeah,
doing wood lore and survival. I like
Like a
that
bear?
kind of thing. I don't think
It's a
bears put
bear.
a lot of thought into it. They just eat whatever gets in front of them.
They creep.
Sure,
They stalk.
they creep.
That's
yeah,
crazy.
they're different kind of
They
bears.
love the woods.
alternate universe bears.
Yeah. They also act
Uh,
like 4-year-olds most of the time. And
Yes.
just do whatever
And
their
man, I
It's
just
like-
can't do.
whim
It's like
takes
the
them.
Yogi Bear, though. It's like
No-
your Yogi
no
Bear
rhyme or
trying to
reason.
get the honey. Like that's the whole gimmick, you know, like
Yeah.
like you're not just like a regular bear. I mean, that would be stupid if you were like a regular bear. You're like Yogi Bear, like you have a tie and everything, and you know you're going to.
I don't recall Matt saying anything about Yogi Bear trying to get honey. It was bears. It's the North American black
and there's
bear.
a D8 table. There's to see what kind of hat you have. Does that convince you?
Oh, geez, dude, come on. You just made that up, dude. There's no way.
No.
The
For real.
bear has a hat. I'm
Oh,
looking at it
boy.
right
Yeah.
Ah! See,
Uh,
see, it's not, you know. So yeah,
You know,
Um,
my icon to start Skyrim is just right over here in this corner.
I know you're like, oh,
Launch.
We're gonna see it on his
Sorry,
Discord.
guys.
Wait a minute.
My internet
Jason's
went out.
playing.
yeah.
Jason's playing Fallout 76.
That's after the show.
Yeah, no, I mean that's pretty much like all the games that I've been through. No, I think some of these, you're right, they're in jest, you know, I mean, but I think they're
Sure.
fun for like Honey Heist, Everyone is John, like, you know, Roll for Shoes. Like, it's a way that you can get a bunch of people that don't normally play
Mhm.
RPGs into like doing, you know, like people that would play like, you know, a group, you know, board game or something, or that play Pictionary or
Mhm.
something like that. I mean, I would play the stuff too, you know, but I mean, I think it's good because if you try and get like the weekly Pictionary group or whatever, right, to play, you know, you know, a Scrabble group or whatever, you know, win, lose, or draw or whatever, right? Like they're not going to play. Oh yeah, let's play Dungeons and Dragons
Yeah.
and go
Play
down
some old
into the
gods of
dungeon
Appalachia.
and so yeah, like whatever, like you're going to lose. People are going to be like, no, I don't know, that's weird. But if you're like, no, we're going to play this game and it's going to be, you know, we're basically, you know, Yogi Bear trying to steal some honey or whatever. Like it's the stepping stone into
Yes.
the.
And that's why
into
I don't hate those games. I am very happy that those games, you know,
Yeah.
and that's like several episodes ago when we were talking about 5th edition. The only thing I like about 5th edition is that it brought 2 new generations into the RPG realm. I don't like a lot of those
Sure.
people, but that doesn't matter. It brought 2 generations of people into, you know, because they tied it into Stranger Things or vice versa, however you want to look at it. It brought new people into it, so it kept it from dying because there's no one that can look at the end of 3.5 and think, boy, D&D is dead. That's just the way it was, especially when 4th came out and it crashed like the Zeppelin. It was terrible. You know, and then 5th edition came out and this mob came at it. I'm delighted that I can walk into a gaming shop and see people playing. And if they're playing some goofy game
Yeah.
about bears getting honey, they're still playing an RPG. They're still having a good time. And maybe one of those guys will leave the table and go pick up a D&D book next.
Yep.
That's wonderful.
Sure. Yeah.
And
Hopefully. I mean, hopefully they'll get into that, you know, but we'll see. But yeah, I mean, and I wouldn't mind playing those. I mean, and I get it if you're not into it, you know, but Ken, if you're around sometime and, you know, you want to play Everyone is John or Honey Heist, and Jason, obviously you're welcome to join us. I mean, to cut you out, but you know, I get it if you're not in, you know,
Yeah.
but it's just fun, goofy, you know,
Yeah.
just goofy
Sure.
shit. Like that's, you know, that's what it's about. So, but yeah, wow. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what else we got to cover. Is there anything that I didn't cover? Any systems that we didn't talk about? Any, you know, prep or any thoughts on?
We talked, at least I think it was briefly, about systems that are not good for one shots. And
Yeah.
I only really have one comment about that because there are plenty. But for me, the more complicated a system, that's not a one shot system. Whether it's, you know, Palladium
Sure.
with Rifts that takes 3 hours to make a character. I'm looking at Aces and Eights, which is a cowboy Western game that I love. It's extremely complicated, and I would not ever want to run a one shot of that. So for me, the
Yeah.
general rule is if it's complicated, it's not good for a one shot.
I think something like Riffs could work as a one shot if the GM pre-made some characters where you have like, you know, a soldier guy, a computer guy, maybe a brawler, and you know what I mean. And then like a mage
Yeah.
or a magic user.
You've got a
class,
couple of
whatever.
juicers, a
And then-
Samus pilot, you know.
Pre-made them. It kind of simplified the skills a little bit, you know, where you don't have, you know, because I've said it before with like the
Mhm.
math and all that stuff. If you just have, you kind of like, you don't overdo it with that stuff and just have, you know, a selection of characters. I think you could do a Rifts game where, hey, you're sent to, you know, to this rift or whatever and do the thing. I think it would work, but yeah, you couldn't play it like out of the box, especially creating characters. Oh
Yeah,
my
it
God.
takes all day to
I mean,
make a
that would
character in any of the Palladium games.
you would need like, yeah, you would need like, hey, session 1 is going to be in this 4-hour block. We're just going to
Mhm.
make characters. And then,
Yeah.
then in this block, we're going to actually play an adventure,
Right.
you know, which is,
All set with that.
which is, you know, ludicrous. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't want to spend a whole block, you know,
Right.
of time at a convention or
right.
something creating a character.
Yeah,
you know,
the
Yeah.
other
just for
the
a
other
one
thing
shot.
I don't think we talked about too for me is like games with impenetrable lore. So obviously something like Aliens, where you are probably familiar with the lore, is helpful, and most DCC or random similar Shadow Dark, like the lore is sort of neutral and is irrelevant.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But there's certainly games where the lore, like if you don't know the lore, it's going to be hard to understand what's going on. Or the worst is if it's like, you know, the DM's got, you know, oh, this is my homebrewed world that I've been running for 10 years. And let me talk to you for a half hour about all this lore that you don't care about. Right. So
Right.
those are things that are not great for one shots.
True.
So
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I think Mothership is a good kind of like middle ground for like some of that, where like I think if you run like a specific IP like Alien, you may, and maybe Alien doesn't do this, right? But you play a game with an IP that somebody really knows, and they're going to come into it and be like, oh, I know this thing here can do this, and every ship has
Mhm.
this, and like, you know, and try and maybe derail the game with that, like, you know, whereas like with Mothership, you know, if you're going to run like an Alien like game, you could say, well, it's like Aliens,
Yeah.
you know, and people kind of get that vibe, and they
Right.
know. But then when the guy starts talking about, oh, every ship has a 50 caliber rifle on it for this purpose, or blah blah blah, or whatever, you could say, yeah, in this universe, it's not like that, and it, you know,
yeah, it's a vibe that people get and understand, but that's
Yeah.
different than like you know, years of lore knowledge that sort of like almost shoehorn you
Right.
into stuff.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
right, yeah, like the Warhammer RPGs, like where you need. I mean, I guess you don't need it, right, for a one, but you know what I
Yeah.
mean, like the Warhammer stuff. It's like it's so in depth, and
The-
you know, like
The names
I-
alone will turn.
I
turn
know
people
very
off of that,
little,
Yeah.
and yeah, right. You say the wrong name or describe something wrong, and people will go off on, you know, well, in the 8th book of this series, it's, you know,
You just hit them.
but
with
yeah,
the book.
yes, there's like a fine line where, you know, where I think you got to say, hey, this is like this, this is just like this, but it's a
Yeah.
little different, you know. But yeah, what else you guys got? Anything one shot related
That's it for me.
we got to talk about? That's it. Ken Ducato,
No, I think that's it.
Covered it.
you got anything? Jason?
I just think it's
Jason's always
no.
got something to
I
say.
just think it's funny that again before the stream we were like, I don't know if we got 3 hours out of this. Here we are, 3 hours
Yeah.
and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's me. I get nervous. So I'm like, oh my God, we're gonna finish 20 minutes
But
and
here we
always know
are.
what to talk about.
You got 5 people with very
It's like
different
my
opinions.
stage,
We're good.
my stage fright. Yeah, it's fantastic. Well, that's great. I think we did good. Next week we're going to talk about house rules, which I think we can definitely get 3 hours out of that.
Oh yeah.
Because everybody's got house rules to talk about for different stuff. And then the week after that, we're going to talk with Don Samora. We're going to talk about conventions and his publishing company and things like that. Honey Heist at CNYCon. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we can get somebody to run it. maybe Ken will run a game.
Who knows?
Maybe we'll run a secret Thursday night game of or maybe a Wednesday night game
No,
or something.
Thursday night we're playing the Skyrim board game.
hunting night. That's why I said. That's why I changed to Wednesday night. Yeah, Wednesday. We're gonna make it a week long.
There you go. That's
Yeah.
where you have to choose.
Anybody wants to come?
Dakota, you got like 6 months to put together
Skyrim
a you got like 6 months to put together like a the hotel terrain and paint a bunch of bears for the
Yeah.
honey heist.
We'll get it taken care of.
Yeah. Listen, if anybody wants to show up to CNY early and hang out, play some games and all that, I'm all for it. Do it. Let's do it. So we got the next couple weeks planned out anyway. I'm trying to stay.
Yeah,
ahead
so
of
like
it.
and subscribe.
But
This is the right time.
That's right.
This is the right
Yeah,
time.
yeah. Oh.
3 hour and 41
this
minutes.
is where you're
Way
supposed to
too
say
late.
that. Sure. Should have
It
said
really
that
helps the channel.
5 times already, but yeah. Like, share, subscribe. It helps the channel. We got to get the numbers up and everything else. We're doing pretty decent. But we're on the rise. People seem to like the long form discussions. So
Awesome.
people seem to like it more when Ken is yelling at me, though. I don't know, or telling me how it is with that tangent short is doing phenomenally. It's like the best video that's on the channel, I think, right
It
now
was pretty good. It was
by a
pretty
long
good.
shot, which is crazy. I'll like, but I won't subscribe.
Good on you.
That's fine. And only 3 people wanted to talk about
One
your
more?
Daggerheart game,
Anybody
Ken,
else?
so,
Come on.
Nobody else?
Anybody, please, anybody. So no, we'll fit that in at some point when you're ready to go live with it and want to talk about it. I got no problem doing that. I don't know if we can get 3 hours out of it, but we'll talk. We'll figure it out. So yeah, so that's what we got. So thanks everybody for the beard one was better. Yeah, we love the beard thing. That was cool. So yeah, like, share, subscribe. We'll talk to you guys next week. We'll see you guys on the other side. Everybody have a good evening. Have a good New Year. New Year's is coming up tomorrow night. Everybody enjoy that. Stay home, especially if you're in the Northeast. There's a ton of snow and it's not worth going out.
No.
So
Never is.
DoorDash the booze, So we'll see you guys. Thanks everybody for coming. We'll see you on the next one.
See y'all.
Take care, everybody.